the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801, The Phase of Improvement. Today's omelette was cooked just right. Amu pursed her lips and tasted Chai's breakfast omelette. Tomoyo and Sakura looked at Mew with strange eyes. What's wrong? Amu looked up and asked confidently. Sakura immediately lowered her head, and Tomoyo said with a somewhat unnatural expression for a moment, "It's nothing. I feel like you are in good spirits today. It seems you have rested well." Tomoyo was also puzzled. Could it be that Eminem was really too tired 2 days ago, so her mental state was in a bad state, and after having a good rest last night, she was extra energetic today? I always feel, not to mention Sakura, in terms of facial control, Sakura is definitely above Tomoyo, but just behind Sonoko. Why does Sakura have a crush on Yukito? Of course, personality is one of the reasons. The magic power lurking in Yukito's body matches well with Sakura's, which is also one of the reasons. The rest is all due to appearance. Seeing the reactions of Tomoyo and Sakura, Eminem became more confident and looked forward to the time when there was a signal point. After finishing the meal, Eminem gently fluffed up her long hair, which had not been cut since the Chinese New Year, and then went to pack the tent. Zioai glanced at him awkwardly and said, "Why are you so pretentious? Is there any?" Eminem paused after hearing the words Zioai looked at Amu carefully, then frowned and said, "Have you awakened some new ability of the fairy system?" Eminem was also surprised. Zioai was the first of the three to discover this. That's it, Sakura said suddenly. Tomoyo looked relieved. Just now she was still doubting whether it was her own subjective reasons. Zioai, you usually see handsome guys. Forget it, Eminem said, shaking his head. First point, well, among the three of them, Zioai was the first to think of this, obviously because she was the least likely to be swayed by men. Not swayed by her outstanding appearance. Only if Eminem mega evolves on the spot can she become more interested. This is not a question of handsome or not, but good looking or not has very little influence on Zioai's judgment. So she can judge clearly and rationally. Another person whose judgment was not affected at all was Noah. Last night, after Eminem asked him how handsome he had become, Noah's answer was that he had not changed at all. Eminem estimates that the way it makes a judgment is to first collect data on Eminem's changes in various aspects, and then compare it with data related to aesthetics. The conclusion is of course that there is no change. But this is also temporary. If Eminem appeared on TV a few more times and everyone generally accepted that he is very handsome, Noah, who has been accepting external information, would naturally accept that Eminem is a handsome boy. It's just that Eminem's handsomeness has not yet caused a wide-scale impact. Naturally, Noah's judgment is still uncontaminated, an uncorrected and backward version. Zioai's rational judgment is quite accurate, although others will definitely not be able to understand things like poison professor, but it is not uncommon for human trainers to suddenly awaken some fairy type abilities. In principle, they are not completely opposite. The potion professor belongs to the moon path, and the important image of the fairy system in this world is also the moon and stars. This kind of image representing external power seems to be related to good looking, closely related. As for the underlying reasons, Eminem had some vague guesses in his mind, but he hadn't yet completely figured it out logically. Are we going to find some fairy type Pokémon in the future? Now we only have small planes, Sakura said immediately. When Pippi on the side picked her nostrils and looked over with provocative eyes, Sakura added, and Pippi, well, because he is also a fairy type, so it stands to reason that he won't forget it. But Eminem's Pippi is really not a fairy in character. Fairy type Pokémon are generally good looking, and their personalities are either cute, quirky, or cold. Pippi's character often makes people forget that she is the fairy pixie. It doesn't count, but you really don't need to look for anything. Eminem pressed Pippi back and said point in the past, Eminem liked to bring Pippi and Ghost to his side when there was danger, mainly because they were stronger, and the Pokémon that Eminem had conquered in Johto had not yet grown up. Point now, Leoben and the others have all grown up to the same extent. This time, Pippi and Ghoststone were replaced entirely because after entering the lake center island of Mingjing Lake, there is a narrow cave environment. In this case, small-sized Pokémon have an advantage. Swap them both over, otherwise, if it is in an open area, Amu can do it without changing Pokémon now. Although Pippi and Ghoststone still have a slight advantage in level now, when the game comes, this advantage will be gone, or even overtaken. Point in addition, in the Johto area rookie competition, there is only one spot for Pokémon not captured in the Johto area, and it is impossible for Eminem to place it on Pippi or Ghost, who have been training in the Johto area. Is a garlic and Nido. Let's ignore this guy. That's right, run away Ghost. It's really bad. Have you forgotten how you defeated those stinky Ibrahimovic? TSK, TSK, TSK. This is human. Gissy, Pippi, and Ghoststone began to condemn Eminem. If you want to appear, I can train you in the next month. Shut up. We don't want to talk to you. That's right. It's too late to regret it. Gissy, Slim, Shady, indeed. One of them is a ghost type, and the other is a fairy type. They are both attributes that Eminem has just increased in compatibility. If you really train them, you will definitely get twice the result with half the effort. Point, but in fact, they don't want to train. If they just mention it, it must be blamed on Eminem and blackmail some extra benefits to make up for their injured hearts. Eminem didn't force anything. Everyone has his or her own ambitions. If someone doesn't want to go through high intensity travel training, it's a good choice for him. The reason why he often brings Agarian and Nido with him in the city is because they have fighting spirit. Point, for example, Coffin likes to play basketball, Arduin likes some messy things, but Eminem doesn't stop them. Just like a qualified old mother who supports her children and does what they like. Let's see if there is a suitable one. There is only more than a month until the rookie competition. Unless it is a relatively strong wild Pokémon, I'm not ready to conquer it anymore. Eminem emphasized. Point, as for the rookie competition, then there is no rush. Therefore, the general route of the subsequent journey remains unchanged. There is no plan to conquer him. Because of Eminem's promotion and the improvement of the 3-line compatibility. Point, the group continued to travel and train within the oak forest. A few days later, the group arrived at the town of Jupi at the southernmost tip of the peninsula. Chapter 802, Hoopy Town. Alliance, January 31st, 201. Not far outside Hoopy Town. Point, it has been several days since I left Kinking Cliff. We're here. We've been able to find some signals. There should be a road ahead. Although Eminem didn't see anything, he felt the illustrated book in his pocket vibrate. Point, apparently the signal has been found, and the backlog of information is being received. I'm really in a hurry today. Well, it's better to be in a hurry. If you arrive early, you can have a good rest. Sakura sighed with emotion, and then changed her mind immediately, after feeling Tomoyo's uneasiness. Yes, today's journey was a bit fast and Eminem didn't even have time to train. The main reason is that Tomoyo is in a hurry. As for the reason, Eminem can also guess it. This is the chance not far from Hoopy Town. A normal forest environment is naturally suitable for insect and grass type Pokémon to survive. And this forest is particularly suitable. Point, not only are there a lot of bug Pokémon, but there are also a lot of normal bugs. Tomoyo is barely tolerant of insect type Pokémon, but is repulsed by ordinary bugs. Eminem can also understand this. Although this is the real world of Pokémon, Pokémon are not as simple structures as in the animation. Insect Pokémon actually have a lot of bug details, but in the end, bug Pokémon are huge, and its structure is much closer to animals than ordinary bugs like eyes. The eyes of bug Pokémon are no different from the eyes of large animals when viewed individually, which is completely different from ordinary bugs. Although Eminem is not very repulsive, but if it's a bug Pokémon, Eminem is willing to get close to it. But if it's an ordinary bug, let's forget it. Point, Tomoyo was just a little more serious, but Eminem had seen someone even more serious. That was Zyarksha. She's even afraid of bug type Pokémon point because Tomoyo was not used to it. During this section of Changsan, Amu and his team rushed over directly and arrived at Hinpi Town at noon. Upi Town is called a town, but its size is equivalent to that of a city, or even inferior to a regional central city. If it weren't not far from Manjin City, it could definitely be a regional central city. Manjin City is located at the end of the peninsula's land bridge. It can be said to be on the peninsula or not. If Manjin City is not included, the Upi Town at the southernmost end of the peninsula and facing the sea is undoubtedly the largest city on the peninsula point, but this was only in terms of area. After actually getting to the main road, Amu felt more and more that in terms of prosperity, Upi Town was indeed just a town point. There are no very tall buildings, and the population seems very sparse. Although we haven't entered the city yet, we can't see any skyscrapers at a glance, which already explains the problem point. It is completely opposite to the feeling given by Manjin City. However, it cannot be said to be backward. This is exactly the development direction chosen by Upi Town Point, based on the location of Upi Town. If the city continues to expand to the south and a port is built at the southernmost end, where a deep water port is more suitable, I believe it will become a more economically developed city. The Alliance had this suggestion many years ago, but it was repeatedly rejected by the town hall, because there is still a part of the insect forest in the south. It can be said that Upi Town is surrounded by insect forests on its north, southeast and three sides. It only developed along a narrow city on the west side, and a port was established on the west coast of the peninsula point. However, due to the depth of the water, it is only a small port. Most people in Upi Town are happy to maintain the existing insect forest and coexist with the surrounding natural environment and Pokémon, even if they miss out on some economic development. As a result, Upi Town did not become a developed port city because of its geographical location, but it became the most famous insect paradise in the city capital area, and even in the entire Xianguan continent. The official gym located here also has the qualification to be one of the 8 12-star gyms in the Johto area, and although there have been changes, it is definitely the insect gym that has won this name. There are also many qualities among the people of Hinopi Town. The prestigious insect gym point. After entering the town, Eminem also saw that many citizens in the town were walking on the road with insect Pokémon, and many shops were decorated in insect style. Eminem thought, took a video to Zyuksha and sent it. Fortunately, Tomoyo is not as serious as Zyuksha, and he can still accept the cute insect style point. After arriving at the Pokémon Center, we got a room and made an appointment to go out to have lunch together in an hour. Then Eminem hummed all the way to his room. Why does Eminem look so happy? Sakura also noticed this, but was a little confused. Tomoyo said calmly, probably, you can't wait to show others how handsome you have become, right? You are such a superficial man. Is Eminem such a superficial person? Of course not. Eminem wants to tell Yuanzi that he has a lot of inspiration for new medicines and needs to make indicative corrections in the research and development work of Mom Classroom. Hello. Have you arrived at Upi Town? Because Eminem made a video call. Sonoko answered the call a little late, and then Sonoko, the delay suddenly increased. That's right, we just arrived. Do you still remember what I said to Kurorido? In short, it was a success. I now have some new views on pharmacy, he said proudly. However, then you can just tell Leixi I know. Yuanzi suddenly woke up. Eminem was stunned when he saw this, came to his senses so quickly. Could it be? Is the improvement not as big as I thought? But that doesn't mean there's no reaction from Sakura, right? Could it be that Sakura's beauty control is still better than Yuanzi's? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. No. There have been a lot of changes in terms of refining materials, etc. I thought we would have a try first. After Eminem adjusted his mentality, he started talking about business. After getting down to business, Sonoko also asked Eminem if there was anything interesting happening these days, especially what he just said about Kurorido. Knowing that Amu had obtained the power left by Kurorido in the tree card and water card, Sonoko also congratulated him. Even after putting down the phone, Eminem was still puzzled, and Yuanzi, what's wrong with you? Why is your face so red? Didn't you answer Eminem's call? Xiaolin couldn't help but be surprised when she saw Yuanzi's current appearance. Xiaolin, you said that if you suddenly feel that a person becomes more beautiful, what would be the reason? Yuanzi asked nervously at this time. Huh? Xiaolin looked puzzled. I just suddenly felt that Eminem was very handsome. Yuanzi said confidently. Xiaolin. When Xiaolin heard this, she immediately said seriously, then, maybe it's love. Chapter 803 Important matters other than being handsome. Kanto region, Rainbow City, inside a family restaurant. Sister Xiaolin, it's possible that Eminem suddenly awakened some fairy type ability, right? Conan made a clear voice from the side. Is that possible? Xiaolin frowned and questioned. Conan, however, did not believe that Sunoko's symptoms of blindness could suddenly become so serious, and specifically explained, I have seen it on TV. It is said that many fairy trainers will become handsome after awakening their special abilities. It's a pity that I didn't take a screenshot just now, otherwise I could show it to you. Yuanzi was worried about gain and loss at this time. Oh, you can't wait to find him? Well, where are they now? Xiaolin asked in a pretentious manner. Hupi Town on Manjin Peninsula. Yuanzi said quickly. Hupi Town. Xiaolin hesitated when she heard this. Obviously she also knew about Hupi Town. Xiaolin was not very afraid of insects, but she didn't feel comfortable either. It may not be too late for us to go to Hupi Town now. Their next stop should be Super Town, but there is no airport there. Yuanzi thought about it. But Xiaolin immediately said, Super Town. Farewell, Sunoko. Xiaolin would never go to Super Town or anything like that. Although it is called Super Town, the town is surrounded by ghost forest and is rich in ghost type Pokémon. Because there are too many ghost type, they always play tricks and confuse the people around them. So, psychic type Pokémon are needed to guide the way. And then the people around them get used to interacting with psychic type Pokémon. They became partners, so the name Super Town came into being. Compared to the insect type, Xiaolin and the ghost type are completely incompatible, especially in places where there are many ghost type. Among all kinds of strange stories, there are often many rumors of real ghosts haunting them. Xiaolin will never go to Super Town. On the other side, in the town of Jupi. After the phone call between Eminem and Yuanzi, although he was wondering why Yuanzi's reaction was smaller than expected, he didn't really care about it at first, so he quickly put it behind him and started writing ability development diary. Well, after being promoted, Eminem began to systematically summarize other abilities that he cared about for the first time. It can be seen immediately that Eminem has been trying to improve his personal strength in all aspects and his trainer compatibility in recent days. In terms of strength, Eminem is now full of confidence, with both hands raised and both feet kicking hard. He can win in an arm wrestle without using skills and without Mega Evolution, Dali, but the level 68 Heracross, it is a fighting type Pokémon, and it is also relatively powerful among the fighting type Pokémon. Dali's strength race value is 125 and his level is 68, which can beat Dali in normal state. In other words, Eminem's pure strength index has exceeded 8000, which is already very high among humans. A world-class karate player is just at this level. Of course, the actual combat effectiveness is not determined by pure strength index. For specifics, Eminem is going to ask after meeting Xiaolin. In addition, this individual strength is not only physical strength, Eminem's mental strength has also been greatly improved. Now Eminem can easily bend spoons with psychic power, as long as the spoon is not too hard. If it's too hard, it won't be that easy. You can even drive your mind power to make yourself slightly levitate a few centimeters if you have a long time to prepare and there is no interference in terms of human superpowers. This should also be world class. Of course, it can't be compared with Nazi or anything else. There are karate competitions and kendo competitions, but there are no superpower competitions. It's just that the gap between superpowers and superpowers is too big. In terms of mental strength, there are many people whom Eminem can ask for advice. Unfortunately, Nazi seems to be busy recently and is not in the service area, and she has not responded to her text message yet. But Eminem is not too anxious. If it doesn't work, he can go to Hogwarts for advice. Magic and spiritual power are also closely related. In addition, Eminem can also feel all aspects of perception, which is much sharper than before. This wave has greatly strengthened Eminem himself. If Eminem had enough karate skills and superpower skills, he might be equivalent to an elite level Pokémon now, and he could even try to be like a fighting master, using no skills on a king level, fighting type Pokémon. In this case, simply practice sparring with the opponent. As for the compatibility improvement in Fairy, Ghost, and Evil, although it is not as good as the super enhancement of Poison, described by Biologist, it is still a big improvement. Now for Eminem, Fairy type, Ghost type, and Evil type have undoubtedly surpassed Ground type, Grass type, and Poison type. The happiest person is undoubtedly Leoben. Before evolving into Bangalus, Leoben was Rock plus Ground, and after evolving into Rock plus Evil, that is to say, he first matched up with the previous Eminem, and then with the current Eminem. Eminem, who was originally not very confident about his promotion before March, thought that the level of his old class might fall behind. Now it seems that when it comes to the competition at that time, Leoben's level was probably the highest in the team. At that time, a level 80 Bangalus will definitely kill everyone in the rookie competition. Another strong competitor is the small plane. As a Fairy plus Flying Pokémon, the compatibility between Togekiss and Eminem has also been greatly improved, but in the early stage, the level of small aircraft dropped a bit. After all, there was no Earth series that was most suitable for Eminem before. However, other Pokémon conquered in Johto are unlikely to be able to take advantage of Amu's skyrocketing 3-type compatibility, even Kijuu, because it is an ancient monster and not a modern monster. So there is no evil attribute. Look at it this way, it's really a waste, but it's only 1 month. Amu thought and shook his head. 1 month to train Pokémon and participate in the rookie competition is a bit too hasty, unless there are Pokémon that have a relatively higher level of growth and are suitable. As for the magic potion, or rather the enhancement of the potion, Eminem hasn't been able to try out too much yet. He just used basic materials to refine a batch of potions. It turns out that the effect of this enchantment is very magical. Now that Amu is refining the potion, it will naturally produce supernatural extraordinary power, giving the potion special effects, but at the same time, it is often accompanied by side effects. At present, Eminem is not able to control this inexplicable variable. The most serious one was when Eminem was refining a potion that stimulated the strength attribute. The resulting reagent could increase the strength attribute to the maximum, but at the same time, it would greatly weaken the physical strength. The entire one potion version of abdominal drum, and the side effects are more serious, and the malaise will last for several days. When the enchantment effect is small, there will also be some strange side effects. Fortunately, Eminem doesn't have to make potions to make money now, otherwise he wouldn't be able to do it. From this, Eminem also understood the description of the promotion of Potions Professor, becoming a master of potions. This point should be connected with another description, that is, as a potions professor, he can control the side effects of potions and arrange them appropriately. Take without being able to control this side effect, Eminem will never be able to become a master. But when Eminem can control the side effects, there is no doubt that Eminem is a master of pharmacy. Rather than becoming a master of potions, it is better to say that it is to become a qualified potion professor. Chapter 804 Insect Catching Conference. On the first day of arriving in Hinoki Town, since the official gym was not far from the Pokémon Center, Eminem had lunch nearby and then went to the gym to prepare for registration. The 7th badge. For a new trainer, it is already difficult. Although Tomoyo doesn't like bugs, he doesn't dislike bug Pokémon, so he went to the insect gym along the way. When it wasn't an official gym, it was also called the continuous/gym. As the name suggests, it is a gym that specializes in teaching continuous/. Continuous slash is an insect type skill, but some non-insect type slashing Pokémon can also learn this move, so it is actually a relatively broad gym in terms of attributes insect type skills. In addition to the skills that can be used by pure insect shaped bodies, also include images of scare and weak point attack. Continuous cut belongs to the latter. By continuously superimposing attacks, the power exerted by Ling becomes stronger each time, but it is difficult to control and is a difficult skill. The owner of the hall, RB, is the youngest among the 12-star hall owners in the Chengdu area. He is not yet 20 years old. He is also one of the youngest 12-star hall owners in the world. After entering the gym, you will also find that there are many insect type decorations and souvenirs here, but naturally you are not interested in these. Eminem. At most, you have the idea. Do you want to buy a keychain for Xiaoxia? But just think about it. When he arrived at the gym, Eminem already felt that something was off. Although it was not deserted, but why were there so few people signing up to challenge here? Isn't the gym here about to expire? Sakura asked worriedly. Probably not. Although the owner of Abbey Museum is also very young, his strength has been tested. He is still ranked among the top 100 in the world. I haven't heard that he will be changed. Eminem was also puzzled at this time. In the end, Eminem decided, just ask. The people who signed up here were also surprised when they saw Eminem, but they still explained it to him. Insect catching contest? Amu was stunned when he heard this. Well, that's right. On February 1st, that is, tomorrow, there will be an insect catching competition within the designated area of Insect Forest. There will be rewards based on rankings, including badges. For the 7th badge, as long as you are ranked first, 16th place can be obtained. The gym trainers are basically busy participating in the competition, so there are no extra gym challenges these 2 days. You can try participating in the insect catching competition. If you don't want to participate, it doesn't matter. You can sign up for the normal badge challenge after tomorrow. The staff at the registration point explained the reason to Eminem. The insect catching contest is a traditional event in Jupi Town. It is held once a year and the time is not fixed. The authoritative insect trainer in the town evaluates the reproduction status of the surrounding insect Pokémon in real time and then decides the date 3 days in advance. Because this makes it inconvenient for people from other places to participate, the project is not widely spread and is not very famous, especially this year. Located in the Manjin Peninsula in the south, the weather gets hotter very quickly. So the insect catching conference starts very early and is usually not held until March. In addition, because the local insect trainers are very concerned about this event, at this time, the gym trainers do not care about the gym challenges, so Abby started to set the rules 3 years ago, from notifying the dates to holding during the 3 days of the insect catching conference. The gym will not accept normal gym challenges. After hearing this, Eminem didn't complain about anything. Anyway, it's just a 1-day thing, and you can still challenge it in the normal gym after that. Would you like to participate in the insect catching competition? If you get 6 badges, you can sign up for free. The gym staff recommended it to Eminem. This, okay. Eminem nodded, then looked at Sakura and Tomoyo, and asked, can I sign up without a badge? Yes, but you need to pay a deposit. It is definitely worth the money. After all, the quality of the insect Pokémon there is very high. As long as you successfully capture it, you can take one of them away. If there is no harvest, the deposit can be refunded. The staff enthusiastically introduced Tomoyo and Sakura. Tomoyo didn't feel cold at first, but when he turned around, he saw Sakura looking at the registration form with burning eyes. She didn't really like bug Pokémon that much, and even she couldn't train Pokémon right now. But when she heard that the insect catching tournament was something close to playing, Sakura became interested. To put it simply, Sakura may not like outing, but she definitely likes spring outing. Eminem also said at this time, since it is a designated area and the density of insect Pokémon is very high, there should not be many ordinary insects. After all, resources are limited, and ordinary insects will be preyed upon by Pokémon. Okay. Tomoyo said helplessly. There are 3 of them, right? Please register here. The staff guided the three of them to complete the registration process. I just heard her talk about the rules of the insect catching conference point in a designated area. Participants can use special Pokeballs provided by the organizer, the Town Hall of Juniper Town, to capture insect-type Pokémon. 20 elf balls are distributed to each person. Unlike ordinary elf balls, after capture, they will be sent directly to the organizer. After the conference is over, you can choose one to participate in the scoring and take it away point. Because the venue for the conference was artificially created by the insect trainers, breeders, and nutritionists of Hoopy Town, it cannot be taken away casually, and outsiders are usually prohibited from entering. Moreover, during the insect catching tournament, the use of Pokémon is restricted. Any Pokémon released will be treated as a forfeit, which means that Pokémon cannot be captured using the means of fighting Pokémon. After all, the insect-type Pokémon within the range are generally not very high level. If the Pokémon is allowed to be used, there will be no difficulty in catching them. The competition is not catching insects but ordinary combat. It's because you have to catch them yourself. That's why it's called an insect catching conference. How to conquer Pokémon without fighting Pokémon. In fact, it is possible. Each type of Pokémon has its own method, but it is not the mainstream. For qualified insect trainers, they will continue to improve their abilities in this area from the time of insect catching boy. After learning this rule, Eminem and Sakura were both confident. Seeing that they were not insect type trainers, the gym staff also reminded them that there would be free basic insect catching skills explanations at the gym. But neither Eminem nor Sakura attended, although they are not insect catching boys, but they can definitely give Hoopy Town some magical girl shock and spiritual cleansing green people shock. Chapter 805 Photos. It was early morning on February 1st, 201 in the Alliance calendar, outside Hoopy Town at the entrance of the forest at the insect catching conference site. A large number of people, mostly young people, had gathered. Eminem, Tomoyo, and Sakura were among them at this time, but unlike others, Eminem and Sakura seemed unprepared, and Tomoyo just made ordinary preparations for dueling. Why? Are you still using synthetic materials? It means that it is easy to use, but it is actually impossible to carry it. Look, mine is made of Validus's net. This bait of yours is too embarrassing. Even the green caterpillars won't eat it. What's the point of trapping? It can only catch small ones. There may not be any burning insects this year. Do we need fire bait? Compared with these insect catching boys who are holding special insect catching nets, insect traps, and even various baits, Eminem looks out of place. As for Sakura, when Eminem and Tomoyo didn't notice, they saw her run to a store nearby and buy a pair of long insect catching nets. At this time, she was gesticulating and playing with the air. Maybe she felt that this was still the case. More immersive. Just then, someone accidentally backed up and bumped into Sakura's net. Sorry, I didn't see it. I saw a young woman wearing a small vest, who looked cool at first glance, with a jellyfish hairstyle and sunglasses. The other party was holding a camera at this time, taking pictures of something. When he was looking for an angle and retreating, he bumped into Sakura. No, it's my fault. Sakura said sheepishly. That's right, don't do it in crowded places. Tomoyo taught Sakura a lesson. However, Sakura just stuck out her tongue and acted cute, and she didn't know if she heard it. Hey, I'm so excited. I haven't played this for a long time. I must catch a super powerful one this time, Sakura said with confidence. When the jellyfish-headed woman heard what Sakura said, she couldn't help but look at her insect net and her movements, and then smiled and said nothing. Obviously she understands Bug Boy, but she doesn't understand Magical Girl. More powerful than Eminem, Sakura added to Eminem. It feels like a child wants to find someone to play with, but is too embarrassed to ask, so he can only say, I must be better than you. If you don't believe me, let's try it. Oh, that's not necessarily true. Eminem actually felt the same way, but he still didn't ruin Sakura's interest. Eminem also thinks that Sakura can win. After all, if Eminem doesn't use Pokémon, His combat effectiveness is far inferior to that of Sakura, a magical girl point. Even if there is a king level Chang in the conference venue, she is guaranteed to beat him all over the head. The jellyfish headed woman looked at Eminem suspiciously, as if wondering why this person seemed unprepared for anything. This is, are you going to participate in an insect catching competition just because of your looks? But then, another kind of doubt appeared on the woman's face, and she opened her eyes wide and said, "Ah, isn't this Eminem? Hiss, why is he ugly in the magazine?" The voice in the second half of the sentence was very low. Eminem quickly made a silence gesture. He didn't want to attract attention. He just wanted to be an ordinary handsome boy. The jellyfish-headed woman also seemed to understand very well, and quickly responded with a silence gesture to indicate that she understood. "It's indeed Mr. Eminem, right? If you publish it in a magazine next time, you can let me take the photo." The jellyfish-headed woman introduced herself. It seemed that she had seen Eminem's photo in some magazine. Eminem didn't know what magazine it was specifically. After all, he had accepted many interviews in the past half month. Eminem still admires this lady for being able to recognize herself, whether it's an interview video on TV or a photo in a magazine. It's obvious that she doesn't look like herself, although Eminem has become more handsome now, but it is obviously not the same style as those cute looks, so it stands to reason that it would not be that easy to recognize. "Ah, you also a pharmacist?" Amu asked curiously. Generally speaking, only pharmacists pay so much attention to themselves, right? For example, Ayako was able to recognize Eminem from those distorted photos because she admired him so much. But the jellyfish head shook his head at this time and said, "No, I am a photographer, so I look at the photos in the magazine very carefully every month. But, is this okay?" Eminem was stunned when he heard this. Did she like photos so much that she looked carefully and recognized herself? Although she didn't say it explicitly later, Eminem could guess that she probably felt that the photography skills of that magazine were very substandard. But it's not easy to slander a colleague like this behind his back, so he didn't finish his words. Of course, Eminem understands that this is not a technical problem. Any photos or videos taken before his promotion, although carefully compared and rationally proofread, will be found to be no different from his own now, but they all look uglier than now. Eminem's increasing appearance is real growth, not an illusion. It's the same when looking at photos and videos, but previous photos and videos will not be reversely enhanced. By the way, are you going to participate in the insect catching competition? Can I take pictures for you? Don't worry, I won't post them unless you say yes. The woman with the jellyfish head looked really interested in taking pictures. Yes, but there may be times when we need to act alone. After hearing what she said, Amu did not refuse. However, considering Sakura, Amu specifically emphasized that he could not let her follow him the whole time. Ahem. But it must not be spread casually. Mr. Eminem's news disclosures are all planned. Tomoyo emphasized at this time. Slim Shady? Did you sign this too? What else am I selling that I don't know about? Don't worry, I understand. Jellyfish looked like he was the most disciplined person. "Ah, you, a reporter who came here specifically to take pictures?" Tomoyo asked curiously. The jellyfish head suddenly said, "Ah, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Violet. I'm a photographer by profession and a part-time trainer." Eminem was stunned when he heard this and immediately reacted. "Violet? Wait, are you Violet, the owner of Carlos Gym?" "That's right. How about it? Are my photos good?" Violet said proudly, as if it was a good thing not to be recognized. Eminem also understands why she likes taking pictures so much, but she is wearing sunglasses at this time. It seems that he is not the only one who doesn't want to reveal his identity. Soon, at the entrance of the forest in the distance, the owner of the Abbey Pavilion personally announced, "The insect catching conference begins now." The crowd participating in the conference immediately poured into the forest and dispersed quickly afterwards. Although there were many people participating, the area was also large, and it was not easy to encounter them. Chapter 806 Conquer. Eminem and his group were relatively behind and walked into the forest calmly because the area of the insect catching conference was large enough. After Eminem and others walked for a while, they were already some distance away from other participants who also wanted to disperse. What insect Pokémon are you going to catch next? Violet asked curiously. The owner of the Violet Pavilion is also here. Call me Violet Photographer, or just call me Violet. Violet interrupted Eminem and corrected her. Then, Violet, you are also here to participate in the insect catching conference? Amu asked. Yes, the insect catching conference here is very interesting. I come often. Violet nodded. Huh, isn't it earlier this year than in previous years? Sakura asked doubtfully at this time, but give 3 days notice in advance. I can come as soon as I get the news. Violet said confidently, as if to say, the job of the museum owner is so easy. Then, what do you want to catch? Amu asked. Eminem and Sakura can catch anything, so they asked Violet. I don't have any goals. Unless there is something very satisfying, I won't take it away, even if I catch it. Violet said matter-of-factly. Although the quality of the bug type Pokémon here is good. After all, Violet is the leader of the official bug type gym, so it is not easy to add Pokémon to herself, even if it is not the main force. Come to participate, just for a sense of participation. Seeing that Eminem and Miss Violet had no purpose, Sakura took the initiative and said, I want to catch the powerful ones. Then, let's find someone powerful. Eminem shrugged. Have you prepared the bait? Sakura asked Eminem. Eminem nodded and then took out a small bottle of potion from his backpack. It was called bait, but it was actually a potion. As long as it is a mixed insect bait, it can be regarded as a medicine, even if it is only a rough processing. And Eminem made this by himself. This can attract stronger mantis Pokémon, but the drawback is that the Pokémon it attracts will be more violent. Eminem emphasized. Even if it is just rough processing, it still has occult effects and side effects. Purely from a material perspective, such a thing would not happen. Sakura said, and was about to open it, but Violet emphasized at this time, for mantises, this is not a good choice. Sister Violet, where should that be? Sakura asked immediately. It should be in a place with more shade and a cooler place. Also, if there are fruit trees around, it would be best. Violet explained to Sakura. Seeing Sakura's interest, Violet asked additionally, what kind of trainer is Sakura? When Sakura heard this, she hesitated and said, I am not a trainer. Violet was stunned when she heard this. It's normal not to be a professional trainer, but there are still people who are not trainers. She immediately thought that there must be some special reason, so it was the first time for everyone to meet. So Violet didn't ask any more questions. At the same time, it was also confirmed that Sakura's interest was entirely out of the interest of the insect catching girl. Violet helped her find a suitable location, and Sakura enthusiastically started applying insect bait on the tree. Violet looked at the insect net that Sakura bought casually outside and asked with a little worry, this can't catch Pokémon that are too big, right? How violent will the Pokémon that is attracted be? The second half of the sentence was looked at Eminem and asked. Among the group of people now, only Sakura is holding the temporary insect net, and Zio AI, although her face is uninterested and she doesn't even want to come, she is still stuffed by Sakura with a small insect net. At first glance, it looks like a child coming to join in the fun. Sakura can solve it, Eminem said calmly. I originally thought that Violet was just an ordinary photographer and that she should avoid magic matters, but since she is a master of Carlos 12 Stars Pavilion, she must know a lot about magic. After all, there are more wizards and so on in Carlos and Galar. After a while, I heard the sound of flapping wings break, then there was a high-pitched chirping of insects. Violet was also surprised. This insect bait is really effective. Immediately, a green figure was seen, flying back and forth at low altitude among the surrounding trees. Is this a bit too strong? This method of attracting flying mantises is not suitable for a bug catching convention. Violet said with some worry. It is true that Pokémon cannot be used in the bug catching tournament, otherwise it will be regarded as a waiver, so it is still a bit difficult to handle if a strong bug Pokémon appears. But Sakura's eyes were shining, and she was full of fighting spirit. Ho. Ho ho. The insect catching expert is here. Sakura saw the green shadow rushing towards the insect bait, and immediately rushed over herself. Violet was worried about taking out the elf ball, but Eminem held her hand down. It doesn't matter. Eminem reminded. I saw Sakura rushing forward, aiming at this quite powerful flying mantis, and just put a net right on the head. But obviously, as Violet said, the insect net itself cannot catch such a large Pokémon, and its quality is not suitable for catching two strong ones. But she obviously ignored why Sakura was able to set the flying mantis so accurately while it was moving at high speed, or she subconsciously thought it was luck. However, it was useless to set it accurately. The next moment, flying mantis waved its blade arm angrily and chopped the insect net in Sakura's hand into pieces. Sakura, who was originally happily stunned, her smile gradually disappeared, replaced by looking at the bear controller in her hand. She looked like she was about to cry. Stop. Flying mantis angrily tried to drive away Sakura. But at this moment, Sakura suddenly emitted bursts of magic power, and then the shadows of Power Pei, Dao Pei, and Xiang Pei floated around her. Now Sakura can exert some of the power of the Claw card without the sealing staff, but it is not as strong as using the sealing staff. Shap. The flying mantis instinctively felt the danger. The next moment, Sakura performed a greenwashing subduement for everyone. No, it's not accurate to say that it's a greenwashing style. After all, the greenwashing style is not a direct confrontation between the trainer and the Pokémon, but the use of throwing props, and Sakura directly beat the flying mantis until it ran away. Even after it flew up, Sakura jumped up and pulled it back. After being convinced, Sakura took out a special bug ball and captured it. Violet, is this what a bug catching conference is like? However, Tomoyo was already filming from the side, recording Sakura's heroic appearance. In addition, at the breeding venue of the bug catching conference, the flying mantis that was conquered by Sakura at this time has also appeared here. Because it is a special ball, it just turned around in another world and came here immediately. How can you conquer such a powerful flying mantis? Look at the number. It's number 212. A tourist who just signed up yesterday, named Sakura. Is he an insect master? Wait. How does this look? Like it was conquered by a duel? No way. There is no reaction to using the Pokeball. This Sakura is only 17 years old. She is registered as a pure tourist and doesn't even have Pokémon. The insect experts were also confused. Abby was also very puzzled at this time, and when he was looking at the registration list, he followed Zioing and saw Eminem number 211, so he took the initiative and said, I'll go take a look. Chapter 807 Crazy Fun. Hey, I can give this to you. Zioai looked at the depressed Sakura and coaxed her to hand over her insect net. This was what Sakura had just given to her, and she didn't want it in the first place. This is even smaller. I can only catch green caterpillars, spiny tail worms and the like. No, don't. Sakura turned her head. Seeing this, Tomoyo smiled slightly, then walked forward. She is better at coaxing Sakura. That child. Violet looked at Sakura and realized something. Just because I didn't see the magic wand, I wasn't sure. At this time, I confirmed to Eminem, is this a wizard? Or is it someone with special abilities from your Chyanguan continent? Violet feels a bit like magic, but it stands to reason that Chyanguan continent is not the home of wizards, and the iconic wand has not been seen yet. Well, after all, she is still a descendant of a great wizard from Galar. Amu already believed that Sakura was a descendant of Kurorido. Alpha in terms of IQ, he doesn't look like Kurorido at all. I didn't take a close look at the qualifications of the flying mantis just now, but judging from the rough appearance of the sickle and the cuticles on its body, it should be above average. Mainly because of its high growth level, it should be considered the highest among the group here, according to the rules of the insect catching competition. The score should be above 80 points. Although Violet just glanced at it, Her eyesight was here, and she had already given an estimate. A score of 80 would normally be enough to advance to the top 16, right? Eminem then asked. Generally speaking, it's okay. Violet nodded. It's a pity that it's Sakura's score. The specially made bug balls given out by the conference are all individually bound and cannot be faked. At the same time, it can also be seen that the score of the insect catching competition is still more in terms of qualification. This flying mantis, which has been considered the top in this field in terms of growth, only has a score of 80 or so. We can make it to the top 16, but the top 8 are hanging by a thread, and the top 3 are definitely out of the question. This is also in line with the positioning of the insect catching contest, which is essentially to see who is better at the insect system. In addition to insect catching skills, it mainly tests everyone's eyesight. After all, no one had any Pokémon with them, and the insects were too strong and could not be conquered by insect catching skills alone. Though if the proportion of growth is too large, then if there are shameless karate masters and kendo masters who participate and win the championship every year, the insect catching conference will also be very embarrassing. While Eminem and Violet were talking, Sakura had already been coaxed and was full of energy to find other powerful bug Pokémon. Amu, do you have this kind of insect bait specifically designed to attract powerful Pokémon? Sakura also discovered that Amu's insect bait is really useful. According to Violet's judgment, the flying mantis just now was already the first echelon nearby in terms of strength, and it was no coincidence that it was attracted here. Yes, this can attract winged insect Pokémon. The faster they fly, the easier they are to be attracted. However, the side effect is that the attracted Pokémon will become disgusted with this insect bait at the last moment, and then left quickly. At this time, Eminem took out another spray. Violet opened her mouth at this time, as if she wanted to ask something, but in the end she didn't ask. She doesn't know about potions, but she knows about insect bait. That's why she didn't understand why Eminem's insect bait had side effects. What is the principle behind this? Only thinking that Eminem was an expert in pharmacy, Violet felt that even if she asked, she might not understand. So she gave up. Zioing immediately took the spray and the small insect net originally given to Zioe to play. What was attracted this time was a squadron cannon, a typical insect Pokémon with high speed and low speed. Low speed means that its skills are slow in readiness and need to be warmed up gradually, while high speed naturally means that its flying speed is extremely fast. Eminem's insect bait will appear delicious due to the smell it emits under the high airflow, so it will attract Pokémon flying at high speed. At this time, Sakura conquered her with violence again, and soon, there was another shovel cannon bug at the breeding ground. Look, it's contestant number 212 again, the spade cannon bug. The level is not low. This is such a strong bug type Pokémon. How did she do it? It looks like it was subdued by force again. Could it be that you really took the Pokémon secretly? That's right. It's not the ranger, is it? No. Why would the ranger participate in the insect catching conference? Wait and see the news about Master Abby. With Master Abby here, if you cheat, you will definitely be discovered. They still didn't understand what happened, and Sakura was still playing. He used various insect baits from Eminem, and occasionally consulted Violet, and only focused on catching powerful insect type Pokémon. Until the sun went down, Sakura looked a little grey, as if she had played like crazy all day. Well, actually it's pretty much the same. The insect catching conference will last for 24 hours. That is, until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. After all, some insect Pokémon appear at night. At this time, Sakura finally used up her 20 insect catching balls while catching a Dragon King Scorpion. Although Dragon King Scorpion does not have an insect type, it is undoubtedly an insect Pokémon. Before it evolved, it still had insect type attributes. At this time, over at the breeding ground, looking at the 20 insect Pokémon that Sakura had caught, the insect experts were also silent. Now they were convinced that this number 212 was just an amateur, obviously a picky catcher. What makes them confused is why there is no news about the owner of Abbey Hall. This made them confused as to what was going on with Sakura, and judging from the fact that there was no commotion in the insect catching tournament, and no protests from other contestants, this Sakura probably didn't attack randomly without any target, and then only pick out those with higher growth levels to conquer. But there is really a way to find or attract only high growth insect Pokémon to conquer. As for Abbey himself, who had high hopes, he was currently lying on the ground, motionless looking at the roots of the towering tree in front of him. Just a few hours ago, he discovered that there was a super rare bug Pokémon here. So, Abbey forgot his purpose, or in other words, the blood of insect catcher boy had already filled his brain, and he immediately lurked here, preparing to capture this Pokémon without caring about anything else. At this time, Sakura was also urged by Tomoyo to wash her hands and change clothes. The tent had been set up. Although Eminem would continue to catching insects at night, others needed to rest. Chapter 808. I'm so sorry, but you have to bring my share of the dinner. Violet thanked her after eating. No, thanks to Miss Violet for being so crazy with Sakura today. Tomoyo looked very polite. Violet also saw that Tomoyo was not someone who would drop honorifics casually, so she didn't force it. And Sakura had already fallen asleep after eating hastily, of course. Although Violet said thank you and sorry, she refused to give advice to Eminem on catching insects. In her words, if you want to learn, I can teach you specifically in the future. However, he is unwilling to help cheat in the insect catching competition. Breaking the rules is secondary. Violet mainly doesn't want the insect type to be underestimated. Well, there is no difference in attributes, but insect trainers are often very sensitive to this aspect. Fortunately, Eminem's animal sense is also effective against insects. Although there is no additional favorability bonus for insects, it is still possible to give it a physical examination. After controlling an insect Pokémon, Sakura has run out of balls, and tonight is Eminem's home court. And Eminem also refined insect baits, or potions, in advance to attract highly qualified insect Pokémon. Although they all had side effects, Eminem still selected some that were acceptable. Violet didn't expect that Eminem was actually a karate master. No, it's not quite like that either. After dinner, Violet witnessed with her own eyes that Eminem took down a Karas that was attracted by insect bait. Without any insect catching skills, he almost defeated the opponent in the form of attack. As for Eminem's strength, speed, and reflexes, he is a karate expert, no matter how you look at it. But Violet also discovered that in terms of his tactics, it looked like he didn't have any karate training. It all relies on one's own hard qualities to attack. And after that, Eminem did not put it into the insect catching ball, but used some special communication ability to communicate with it. Hey, Eminem sighed and let Karas go. Huh? Is this Karas not bad? Violet asked. But according to the rules of the competition, the score is only about 80 points, which is not as good as the green caterpillar I caught before. Eminem said matter-of-factly. These are the rules of the bug catching conference. I'm more concerned about the Pokémon's qualifications, or the individual correction rate. Although the green caterpillar has a low racial value and has not evolved, its growth rate must be very low. But Eminem just found a green caterpillar with good qualifications. The caterpillars were collected into the insect catching ball. Only this green caterpillar has a good chance of reaching the top 16, but it's not guaranteed. I didn't expect that your communication and detection abilities are actually effective against insects, Violet said with emotion. She doesn't think at all that Eminem is good at the insect type. Otherwise, there is no need to rely entirely on special abilities to judge. Many times, experts can tell many things from the appearance at a glance. And she could feel that, although the bug Pokémon didn't hate Eminem, it wasn't exactly liked either. But your insect bait is not fully prepared, right? Violet wondered. In the second half of Sakura's journey, there was no insect bait available, so she had to help her find powerful insect types. For Sakura, who was just playing, Violet did not hesitate to give advice, and even felt that Sakura's mentality, very suitable for being an insect trainer ordinarily. Eminem is a pharmacist himself, so he should be well prepared in this regard. Yes, but I'm waiting for the evening. Eminem shrugged. Eminem has been waiting for the evening too. It's not late enough. The moon hasn't come out yet. Oh. So you are waiting for some insect Pokémon that comes out at night. Violet misunderstood. Eminem did not explain the misunderstanding. It's not that I'm picking on bug type Pokémon, but on the one hand, this is because Eminem's own strength in all aspects will be stronger at night. On the other hand, and more importantly, a large part of the potions refined by Eminem also have special effects that are stronger and more powerful at night. The side effects are relatively minor. There is absolutely no way to explain this to anyone. After all, he said that he has fairy type abilities, so he likes to perform better at night. That's all. Why do potions have different effects at night? This is too unethical for pharmacy. In fact, Eminem understands that it should be, because the ability of the potion professor comes from the moon path, so the effect is particularly good at night, especially under the moonlight. The second reason for the stronger effect is that many attracting medicines have side effects that hinder the capture or have persistent side effects on the attracted Pokémon. Therefore, Eminem has never used such medicines before. Otherwise Sakura's record can be even more brilliant. Eminem, on the other hand, has reserved for himself a lot of qualification screening potions, which are rarer than strength screening potions. After all, to achieve qualification screening, it requires a lot of logical detours compared to directly screening the strength shown. To achieve this effect naturally tests the knowledge of pharmacy. Eminem waited until the moon reached the zenith, and then used his insect bait medicine to go out several times and collected a hunting swallowtail and a hazelnut ball. If Eminem's judgment was correct, he would score each one is higher than the other, and the hazelnut ball that was conquered at the end should be able to exceed 90 points, even though the hazelnut balls look like plants or hazelnuts, they are actually disguised as insects. They are actually insects. The insect experts at the breeding site also noticed number 211 at this time. They only caught 3 Pokémon, but they were all of high quality. This is a qualified insect catching expert, of course, because number 211 and number 212 are too close. They are also worried about whether there might be some cheating. Only isn't Master Abby back yet? No. I think there is a high probability that we have found some interesting insect. That's not the case, is it? After Eminem caught the hazelnut ball, he was relieved. With this, he would definitely be able to enter the top 16, and Eminem's goal was just to get 7 badges originally. Eminem was also ready to rest, but just when it was 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, Sakura suddenly woke up. Eminem, who had not slept before, looked over in surprise. He felt a predictive dream. The breath. Could it be because I went to bed early today, so I dreamed early too? Soon there was a noise in Sakura and Tomoyo's tent, and Amu also came closer and asked, "Is this a dream?" At this time, Tomoyo opened the zipper from the inside, and Eminem got in, because she went to bed early and was already full. Sakura quickly said, "It's a precognitive dream. I dreamed that a ghost-like flying insect emerged from the ground." A ghost-like flying insect? Could it be a ninja that escapes its shell? Eminem's eyes lit up when he heard this. If nothing unexpected happens, Eminem doesn't plan to take away any Pokémon caught in the competition. After all, he is not an expert in the insect type. There is no need to eat more and occupy more, and he will not have time to train by then. But escape ninja is one of the accidents. Just because the chance of a ninja escape being born is too low, Eminem didn't dare to prepare like this before. Come out of the ground? It sounds like a newly born shelling ninja. By the way, is it at night? Eminem asked immediately. Shelling ninjas are usually born before the early morning light. When Sakura heard this, she nodded heavily. At this moment, Violet also noticed the movement. When she came out of the tent, she found Eminem comes out of Tomoyo and Sakura's tent. Violet, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 809 Shelling Ninja. After Sakura was awakened by the predictive dream, Eminem and the others quickly got up facing the confused Violet. Eminem briefly explained about Sakura's ability to predict dreams. He just didn't mention the Clo card and Clorido. In short, it only appeared occasionally, just now. Predictive dream points to ninja out of the shell, so Eminem is interested. Violet's expression is still weird. He probably wants to say, I can pretend not to see it, and you don't have to make up precognitive dreams. But when she saw that Amu had even packed her tent, Violet had no choice but to believe it, and packed her bags as well. Originally, Eminem wanted to ask Violet to stay, so that Zio AI wouldn't have to go. But when Violet heard that there was a shedding ninja, she might be able to take a photo of the moment when the shedding ninja was born, which made her very interested. The ninja is a very special Pokémon, right? The illustrations are very vague. Sakura looked at the illustrations as she walked. Well, it's said to be ninja, but it's actually named because of the influence of Kanto ninja culture. In fact, it has nothing to do with ninja. It's a cicada Pokémon, commonly known as ghost cicada. Yes, Eminem explained while looking around. Even though it was dark all around, Eminem's vision was completely unaffected by the darkness. Even if the moonlight is sufficient, it will make his vision clearer than the sunlight during the day. It's so light. It's a ghost type. Sakura sighed after looking at the standard height and weight marked on the illustration. The average height is 0.8 meters, which is quite big for a cicada. But the average weight is only 1.2 kilograms. There is also a lack of introduction to Shell Ninja in the illustrated book. Among non-mythical beasts, it is one of the most mysterious Pokémon because its body is actually the shell that the earth-dwelling ninja shed when he evolved into the Iron Face Ninja. The rest are not real substances. The so-called weight is just the weight of that shell. Eminem said he also has a lot of knowledge outside of illustrated books, especially the shell of Iron Mask. Eminem is very familiar with it. Eminem, you are so awesome. You are obviously not an insect trainer, but you still know this. Sakura thought that Eminem knew a lot of miscellaneous knowledge, because normally, the shells left by the earth-dwelling ninjas when they evolved, or the shells shed by the Iron Face ninjas when they grew up, all have medicinal value. Amu said matter-of-factly. In most cases, after the Doi ninja evolves, only medicinal materials are left behind. Only in rare cases, escape ninja will appear from this aspect. Eminem knows the shell, or the composition of the body of the ninja in shell very well, but the insect's slough can actually produce life. Could it be similar to the sand-eating castle? Sakura guessed at this time. Indeed, just like a pile of sand turning into a dune baby, it is an object that should not have life. It has life and becomes a Pokémon. There is no shortage of weird legends about this type of Pokémon from ancient times to the present and the shelling ninja is even more special than the sand-devouring lord. After all, sand-eating castle lord has a traceable method of reproduction. Essentially, it absorbs the energy of other creatures and mixes it with sand to reproduce. The birth of Shell Ninja is not only still a mystery to this day, but also has no reason and goes against the existing laws of Pokémon reproduction and evolution. The vast majority of Doi ninjas will not give birth to escape ninjas when they evolve into Iron Mask ninjas, but once it appears, current Pokémon biology cannot explain this situation. That is to say, what I dreamed about was that the Doi ninja evolved into the escape ninja. Sakura also understood at this time. Looking at the shelling ninja in the illustrated book, Sakura became more and more convinced that this was what she was dreaming about, and not some card that looked like shelling ninja, because Zioke and Eminem were very fond of it. Sure, there is no ninja in shell looking card. No, in essence, the shelling ninja is not the evolution of the earthen ninja. The earthen ninja evolved into the Iron Face ninja. The shelling ninja is another life form born during the evolution process. After hearing this, Violet one-side corrected. For Violet, the king of bugs, there is no confusion in this regard. In other words, a dog ninja may inexplicably become two Pokémon during evolution. Iron Mask ninja is in the same line as it, and the other one. I don't know how it came about. This situation cannot be regarded as evolution, let alone reproduction. Zio AI nodded silently at this time. As a doctor in evolution, Zio AI is also very aware of the contradiction in this definition. Escape ninja is a life that is completely produced for no reason without breeding or evolution. Huh. But it says here, shelling ninjas can indeed give birth to earth-dwelling ninjas, right? Sakura looked at the egg group classification of mineral group on the illustrated book and understood that shelling ninjas should be able to reproduce, and it also says doi ninja, which means shelling ninja. If mated with other mineral groups, doi ninja will be born. That's right. But at this moment, Sakura also noticed that it was marked genderless, so she felt guilty and said, can genderless Pokémon reproduce? Tomoyo knew that she was not paying attention to the lesson, so he explained, yes, there are many genderless Pokémon in the mineral group. Well, the genderless Pokémon in this world can mate with each other, and not all of them are troublesome. Various monsters point as for why the shelling ninja can give birth to doi ninja. That has nothing to do with the mineral group. This Violet doesn't know much about this aspect. In actual operation, it is difficult for the shell ninja to mate successfully. Point as for the direction of the name, mineral group, it is not clear. It should be called an organic group, to make it easier to understand. Those who lack organic matter in their body composition are basically mineral group. But ZioAI said at this time, I think that's because it is the shell of the shelling ninja that performs the breeding, not the shelling ninja itself. Well, generally speaking, we will think of the things inside it is its true nature, right? So this so-called breeding is just the breeding of genetic information in the outer shell. Violet looked at the little girl in surprise when she heard this, then nodded and said, that makes sense. This is ZioAI's idea and is not a final conclusion. But, given ZioAI's academic status, this idea can be used as a powerful hypothesis point in this regard. Experts of the insect and ghost types, as well as experts in Pokémon evolution and reproduction, have put forward many hypotheses, but none of them have been confirmed so far. What exactly is inside? Sakura couldn't find the answer in the illustrated book. Who knows? Some people say it is the shadow space, and some people say it is a similar substance. But what is certain is that the thing inside does feel very similar to the shadow dimension. That is, it launches surprise attack, that space that you sneak into. Eminem knows this, since it is said to be an insect slough, there must be a hole. After all, the things inside have to get out before the shell can be left behind. The holes in the shell of the ninja in the shell are all on the back, which is determined by the habits of the ninja in the iron mask. Looking through this hole, you can only see an effect that looks like a black hole. Therefore, there have been many supernatural legends since ancient times. For example, this hole can absorb people's souls, but now everyone knows that this is not the case. However, it is true that shell ninjas are extremely rare, difficult to conquer and train, and basically unable to communicate. Chapter 810 Mysterious Guardian. From the hole behind its slough, you can only see a black hole, so what you see is the so-called shadow dimension. Sakura looked at the description on the illustration at this time, and then compared it and asked, I don't know, but at least it's something similar. Therefore, some scholars believe that the shelling ninja is essentially controlled by the life form of another world, or is connected to the life form of another world, and then the Pokémon that spawned it. Eminem explained. In short, the insect slough, left behind when the Iron Mask ninja evolved, does not have such properties. Eminem said something more that he was sure of. Eminem is very familiar with the specific properties of this medicine. As for why it can be connected to other worlds, Sakura still wanted to ask, but not only did no one know, but also, a small voice came from her backpack. This kind of thing should be answered by the descendants of Lord Kurorido, right? Hehe. Zioing suddenly laughed a few times and stopped talking. Zioke couldn't stand it either. In its impression, Mr. Crowley Rideau was the most knowledgeable and wisest being, but now his descendants are actually working as Reachers. If it were Master Kuro Rideau, he would definitely find the answer himself. Then, Kuro Rideau, sir, did you know about the ninjas who escaped from their shells before you were alive? Sakura murmured in a low voice. Zioke didn't answer, but Eminem said, it's possible that he doesn't know, because the ninjas in shell only began to appear about 300 to 400 years ago. That's when I met Kuro Rideau through time travel. 500 or 600 years later, and 300 or 400 years after Zioke began to fall asleep. Eminem's meaning is obvious. he may not live that long. In fact, from the perspective of the Gala magic world, there is no record of the appearance of Kurorido since 800 years ago. The shell shock ninja showed up so late? Sakura asked in surprise. Sakura and Eminem were muttering in a low voice before, and Violet didn't hear it clearly, but she heard this sentence, so she explained, when did the shinobi appear? There is actually no conclusion on this, but it was indeed 300 or 400 years ago. There began to be various legends about ninjas who escaped from their shells, and, because of their special bodies, it is difficult to determine the age of their appearance, based on material evidence. The physical part of the body of the ninja in the shell is the insect slough, left over when the ninja in the iron mask evolved. When it is alive, its body will have special properties that it did not have originally. However, the insect slough, left behind after death, from size to weight to composition, has not become a shelling ninja, but is just the shell of a simple insect slough. There is no difference. Naturally, it is difficult to obtain evidence of the existence of the ninja in shell from other than records. Even if a fossil is found, it is impossible to determine whether it is the corpse of a ninja who shed his shell or the worm slough of an ordinary ninja in the iron mask. And from the perspective of ancient records, before the Alliance era, the historical records of various civilizations in this world were relatively poor, and even the Quartz Alliance is now unable to understand the history of the ninja world. But generally speaking, it is true that the earliest records and legends about the escaped ninja were only 300 to 400 years ago. The rumor that the darkness on its back can suck away the soul began to appear at that time. Actually, even now, there are very few trainers with shell shock ninjas. There should be no more than 10, and no more than 5 are disclosed to the public, and none of them are insect trainers. Violet said, with some pity. The nature of the escape ninja is very special. Although it still has a insect attribute, it seems to be no longer an insect in nature. If you fail, I will try to. Violet said to Sakura at this time. It was Sakura's precognitive dream, and she went to look for it later. She just happened to encounter it. Of course Violet would not compete with Sakura at this time, but if Sakura failed to conquer, then of course she also wanted to try. What kind of failure? Zioang was stunned for a moment when she heard this, and then she reacted, it's Eminem who wants to conquer him. When Violet heard this, she looked over in surprise. No wonder she had this misunderstanding. Among the people who publicly subdued the escape ninjas, only 2 were professional trainers, and the others were gods. So in her opinion, Sakura, as a magical girl, was more likely to conquer the shell ninja. I actually have a talent for the ghost system, and it's pretty good. Eminem was finally able to say this confidently. After becoming a potion professor, his talent for the ghost system has surpassed that of grass, poison, and the ground is tied. But this is not a question of the trainer's talent. Anyway, after you try it, if it doesn't work, can I try it? Violet actually didn't have much confidence. Of course, it's just, I don't think I will fail. Eminem was very confident. If it can really happen, for the Pokémon competition, your opponents will be uncomfortable. Violet sighed with emotion. She could also see that Eminem was not trying to conquer the escape from the perspective of a pharmacist ninja. Well, as for magical guardian, I still need the authentic ninja out of the shell. Eminem's eyes flashed when he mentioned this. Noah can also imitate the magical guardian characteristic. Although Eminem does not have a shell ninja, he is one of the few people who understands this characteristic. However, even if other Pokémon have magical guardian, it's a little less interesting because you are not immune to damage caused by physical impacts. The special thing about escape ninja is that, while it is very weak, it is also difficult to be hurt. If it were a Polygon or any other Pokémon, even if it obtained the effect of mysterious guardian through special means, it would only be immune to most attribute damage, and the physical impact would still be there, and the attribute awakening level to the defense effect is almost the same, even if you rely on some special means to give other ghost type Pokémon mysterious protection. It is not as authentic as the shelling ninja. Escape ninja is not only a ghost type, but also has special properties. When it loses its combat effectiveness and faints, it will turn into an ordinary insect slough, as if it is completely dead. No, it should be said, as if it has never lived. However, after it recovers, the interior will be filled with that shadow power again, combined with the legend of the biological connection between the insect's lufan. The shadow dimension, its fainting after losing the battle is more like being knocked off the line point, and if you want to make it go offline, you must use the power of restraining shadows, ghost type, or restraining insect's luff, insect type, to attack. It doesn't need to be too strong, just a little disturbance can cause it to go offline. However, without the power to restrain attributes, no matter how powerful it is, it will not be able to harm the shell ninja. It will be as untouchable, as if it exists in a semi-surprise attack, state at all times. This way, I feel the breath of Clocard. Zioke quickly reminded in a low voice. After hearing this, Eminem and Sakura immediately changed directions. Violet also wondered why they suddenly turned, thinking it was a reminder from a dream. At the same time, Eminem was also thinking that now it was not only the shelling ninja, but also since it was Sakura's dream, it must be related to the power of the Clo card, but she didn't know what card's power it was, and what kind of card it was. Resonance with Ninja in Shell. Chapter 811 Under the Tree. Soon, Eminem saw an ancient tree of this size. It was very conspicuous in this forest, and its uniqueness made him couldn't help but regard it as his destination. It is said that masked ninjas that evolve in the soil under the huge ancient trees are more likely to give birth to shelled ninjas. Let's go over there and have a look, Eminem said, leading everyone over. At this moment, Amu came to the big tree and asked, "Did you hear anything?" "It seems that there is indeed," Sakura said, having already taken out the sealing staff. "Woo, here we go again." Eminem quickly put on a defensive posture. Violet, Eminem, you seem to have stepped on something, Violet reminded sarcastically. Only then did Eminem realize that he was stepping on someone. Well, those who are good at water will drown. Eminem can see the ground clearly at night, so he doesn't pay special attention to his feet. It turned out that this guy was still wearing a ghillie suit and was even buried in a layer of soil, so he couldn't be seen lying in the grass. This is. Eminem jumped down quickly. "Keep your voices down. Don't disturb the Doi Ninja at this important moment." I saw a young man with short lavender hair and a ghillie suit who quickly stopped Eminem and others from speaking. "Dodgy Ninja, are you also here for the shell ninja?" Eminem asked directly. I didn't expect anyone to find this place. Violet? Only then did the young man see Miss Violet. "Long time no see, Ziobaby." Violet greeted and then explained, "But it wasn't me who discovered this place this time. That's, The young man also discovered at this time that the other three, no, including the children, among the four, there was a handsome boy. Handsome guys always attract attention. After taking a few more glances, the young man suddenly said, is it Mr. Eminem? I didn't expect. Mr. Eminem is really low-key. Maybe he thought that Eminem went out of his way to cover up his beauty when he was on TV. Otherwise, why would he look more handsome in real life? It's it, the owner of the Abbey Hall. Amu also guessed this person's identity. That's right. Shh, let's keep our voices down, Abby said cautiously at this time. Then, you are Sakura, right? So that's it. You actually discovered that there might be a ninja who can escape from the shell here. You are more professional than I thought. Abby sighed with emotion. Because when Sakura came out at night, she had already put on the clothes prepared by Tomoyo, so she was immediately recognized by Abby as a magical girl. In this way, Sakura's previous record is not surprising. Abby had also guessed before that it might be some people with special abilities, but what they didn't expect was that they would also discover that a shell ninja was about to be born here. The two Pokémon that Sakura had conquered before were both strong but not refined. Abby thought they were not good at identifying insect type Pokémon. Abby didn't understand how they found out. Abby himself discovered some clues when he happened to be passing by, but Amu and others obviously came directly to find them. Right, it's just that I discovered it first and arrived first. According to the rules of the insect catching boy, I have to try it first, Abby emphasized. Of Course, this is according to all trainers' rules. Eminem nodded at this time to express his approval. We are all civilized people, so naturally we have to come first. First served. It may not be born yet. I can only say, there is a chance. Abby also said with some anxiety. He just judged that all the circumstances met the conditions for the birth of the ninja out of the shell, but because the birth of the ninja out of the shell itself was very random, or there were still many things that humans didn't understand, so he didn't dare to say that it would definitely be born. Just under the roots of this tree, a domestic ninja who has been around for about 30 years is undergoing transformation. Unless the toy ninja is artificially bred, it will be difficult to conquer it, because there is no chance. Wild ninjas live underground from the time they are hatched. Later, they bury themselves deep underground and suck the juice from plant roots to survive. Most of them take 5 to 10 years to reach the level 20 required for evolution. Growth rate. When they evolve, they are also underground, transforming into iron mask ninjas. This is very similar to the cicada among ordinary animals, except that the toy ninja lurks longer, but generally 10 years of latency is considered a long time. If it lasts longer, it will usually die before evolving. And in front of me is a bergamot tree, a very old bergamot tree. Naturally, Eminem understood that the medicinal properties of bergamot fruit have excellent ability to counteract the ghost type power, and the vitality of this old tree is so powerful that it can theoretically make the Dodder ninja parasitic at its roots live longer. Generally speaking, the conditions for the birth of escape ninja that humans have observed and summarized include an indigenous ninja who has lived for at least 30 years, is on the verge of death when evolving, and is resistant to ghost power. Extra resistance, the opportunity to evolve, is in the early morning. Abby discovered this place purely based on knowledge. After realizing that there were indigenous ninjas living under the old bergamot tree, Abby judged that it was on the verge of evolution and death. So, he stayed here and waited. Got it? Doi. Ninjas usually arrive close to the ground and are discovered when they are making final preparations for evolution. That is, everything fits in perfectly. B, like Zieluolan, also has a lot of resentment about the fact that there are no insect trainers to conquer the shelling ninjas. However, Abby cannot guarantee whether a ninja who escapes his shell will emerge. Eminem didn't mention what Sakura had dreamed about. He just waited with Abby. Seeing that it was almost 5 o'clock, everyone became more and more anxious as they waited. Especially Abby. If daybreak comes, even if the Iron Mask completes his evolution, the escape ninja will not be born. Amu knew that there was Sakura's dream, but he was also a little nervous. After all, Sakura's precognitive dream may not necessarily come true. Fortunately, at this moment, Eminem suddenly noticed something and said, "Here he comes." There is a ghost type aura. Abby clenched his fists at this moment. This should mean that the toy ninja is about to die. This is the evolution of toy ninja. They are born towards death, and most of them complete the final stimulus of evolution through the reflection at the end of their lives. Eminem's senses are very keen, but this feeling of death entanglement has been lingering. But it has not fulfilled the meaning of returning to the light point until it was almost 5:30. At this moment, Eminem's expression suddenly changed. Not good. Hey. Abby also sighed with regret. The breath is gone. Seemed this indigenous ninja, who had lived for 30 years, failed to survive. Just when everyone was feeling regretful, the first ray of morning sun had already illuminated the entrance. It seems that everyone's expectations are destined to be disappointed. Chapter 812 Double Card. How could it be? Obviously, Sakura was also a little uncomfortable. She obviously saw it, but she didn't expect before. Sakura was the least mentally prepared for the possibility that a toy ninja would die. At this moment, white light emitted slightly from some gaps on the ground at the root of the tree. It seems it started. Abby's eyes lit up. It's a pity that the sun has come out and the ghostly aura has also been dispelled. Amu said helplessly. Abby also shook his head, but still said, at least its evolution has been successful. 30 years of dormancy have been exchanged for soaring that pierces the sky. He was simply happy for this toy ninja. No, this iron masked ninja. As for the escape ninja he was looking forward to before, there should be no more. In the white light, I saw the soil gradually breaking open. and a worm with a black and grey body and a continuously shining back appeared. The next moment, the white light on the back magnified, and it could be clearly seen that the light was coming from a hole. Then, from the hole in the black grey shell, a very fast iron mask flew out. At this time, the iron mask had just come out, and was not quite used to it. He did not fly far away. He just moved around, but he had already shown his extremely fast speed. The empty shell just fell to the ground, completely unlike a living thing. This iron masked ninja is also very strong. Generally speaking, the longer it lies dormant, the better the qualifications of the evolved iron masked ninja will be. Come and conquer it. If you succeed, there is hope of winning the championship. Pen obviously has no such interest. Insect catching conference. When he was not a trainer, he had won several championships. Abby was still interested in insect catching, but not in insect catching championship. However, at this moment, a squeaking sound suddenly appeared. Then two identical white rats appeared in the grass. The rats were small in stature, but had big ears. At this time, they stood upright with their tails intertwined. Those are a pair of rats. Abby was stunned when he saw this. No. Sakura. Eminem reminded immediately. Before Eminem reminded her, Sakura had already realized that this was not a pair of rats. This was Claw card, and Eminem also remembers that the Crow card, based on a pair of rats, is double card. Although pair of rats was originally a Pokémon unique to Paidia, due to its small size, it was easy to travel across the ocean with ships during the exchanges with Paidia. Now it is basically available everywhere, but it is not considered mainstream. For example, in Chang'an continent, its distribution is far less than that of the local ladder. When Crow card was born, it was said that humans had not yet discovered Paidia, but Crow Rido had definitely seen Paidia's Pokémon, and there were several cards that belonged to Paidia's Pokémon. Look, I saw that Sakura had already taken out the sealing staff, but the pair of rats were pointing at the newly evolved Iron Mask Ninja. Squeak. Then, he pointed to the empty shell on the ground. Squeak. Point to this. Point to the squeak. Squeak. The next moment, Eminem suddenly felt that the insect slough on the ground that had no ghost aura suddenly bloomed with a ghost aura again. In an instant, even the morning light that had just shone down dimmed by 3 points. Then I saw that under the ghost energy, its interior was gradually filled, and after reaching a certain limit, the ghost energy in its body transformed, originally looking through the hole in the back. It was purple smoke like ghost energy, but now, suddenly it turned into a dark black hole. Obviously it is no longer just a ghost energy filling, but more like connecting the shadow dimension. The next moment, the insect slough floated. Although it was flying, it was not flapping its wings, but floating motionlessly. The holes of the eyes were also pitch black, and at the same time, under the transpiration of ghost energy, a white halo formed above the head. Escape. Ninja? What's going on? Abby was stunned when he saw this. This birth process was a little weird. Double cards can actually. Eminem's eyes lit up when he saw this, but before Eminem could thank double cards, the pair of rats pointed at Eminem and the others again. Squeak, squeak, squeak. It's like counting 1, 2, 1, 2. Immediately afterwards, I saw Abby, who was about to try to communicate with the new escape ninja. Suddenly, there was another Abby in front of him. Hey, what's going on? Abby asked in surprise. Oops. Seeing double card starting to cause trouble, Sakura quickly wanted to stop it, but there was another Sakura in front of her. Then Eminem, Chise, Violet, and even ZOAI were not spared. Is this a magical creation? Or some kind of special ninja tool? Abby also became puzzled. If it wasn't a big problem for a person to be copied, then when Sakura took action, everyone was surprised to find that this thing seemed to really be able to copy all the other person's abilities. I saw Sakura using Claw card, and the opponent's Sakura also followed suit. Upon seeing this, Abby quickly said, "It seems it's not time to continue the insect catching competition. Go. Flying mantis." Abby also realized that something was wrong. But, unexpectedly, when his flying mantis came out, along with the other party's 2 squeaking sounds, an identical flying mantis actually appeared. However, despite being surprised, Abby still commanded the attack with confidence, but I didn't expect that the flying mantis transformed by the other party actually had similar abilities. At this time, he was fighting against his flying mantis-an. Was not losing at all point. At the same time, Chiao looked at himself across from him, first smiled, and then nodded politely. Chiao across from him also nodded and smiled politely. It seemed that he couldn't fight for the time being. Zluolan's situation was similar to AB's. After releasing a colorful pink butterfly, it was also copied by the opponent, and then he hesitated to release a second one. As for Zhao AI, at this time, the 2 Zhao AI looked at each other with disgust and trouble, and then took a few steps back. Eminem was still hesitating whether to release Little Flash to test the opponent's copy limit. There is no limit to this kind of ability, otherwise that bastard Kurorido wouldn't have beaten Hayabu and still used him. But just then, Chai suddenly said in confusion, Eminem, your clone seems to be, subtly, a lot more low-key. Eminem was stunned for a moment, but then he understood. The other party didn't seem to have his own beauty bonus, although they look the same. Eminem further speculated that this thing cannot replicate the power of God's path. So why use a small flash? I saw Eminem directly rolling up his arms and sleeves and rushing forward. Chapter 813 Plant Insects. Alliance. On February 2nd, 2011, it was just dawn. In the forest venue of the insect catching conference, under the old bergamot tree, if someone approaches at this time, they will see a handsome guy beating someone. Moreover, the person who was beaten had no power to resist under the punch of the handsome guy, and was directly beaten by the handsome guy. In just a few punches, the fake Eminem was beaten away by the real Eminem. Squeak. A pair of rat-like double cards were a little confused at this time. The 2 white rats tilted their heads and looked at Eminem in confusion. But before it could understand, Eminem rushed forward. Double card is said to be a card with dual attributes of earth and water. It is also the only Kuro card with dual attributes. Originally, when Eminem was still a harvest priest, he was most suited to the earth attributed Kuro card. But now, after being promoted to potions professor, Eminem is more interested in the water and wind attributes representing the moon. Kalo card, a card whose compatibility is even greater than that of the earth attribute. Therefore, when the pair of mice faced the handsome guy who could fight in front of them, they did not run away, but looked at him curiously. Eminem also grabbed them directly, and then, return to your old self. Double card. In Eminem's hands, a pair of rats turned into a double card with a card picture of a pair of rats on it. At the same time, other clones also disappeared one by one, except Ninja and Shillits. Just that the escape ninja, which was originally flying together with the Iron Mask, but was not as fast as the latter, was now hanging motionless in midair. Obviously this is not a simple copy of the ninja in the Iron Mask, but a real ninja in the shell. Perhaps, because of its own particularity. When double card copied the Iron Mask ninja, the shelling ninja who was not born in pairs was actually born at this time. At this time, the Iron Mask ninja saw that his copy had stopped moving, and he looked very curious, flying around the shelling ninja, so fast that there were even after images as he flew by. Eminem looked at Abby at this moment. However, Abby, who understood the look in his eyes, shook his head and said, I have violated the rules of the insect catching conference, so you should come first. Although the situation was special, Abby still gave up the opportunity to try it first, because he had just used Pokémon Point. But Eminem also said at this time, this is not a problem of the insect catching conference. Since you discovered it first, you should try it first. Abby felt a little embarrassed. Okay, Ziobibi, you may not succeed. Violet couldn't stand it, and they had always been humble to each other. Abby nodded after hearing this. Abby stepped forward and prepared to communicate with the shelling ninja. The shelling ninja could only use communication to make it take the initiative to be subdued. Otherwise, the Pokeball can't reach it at all. Unlike ghost type Pokémon, Shell Ninja is completely inaccessible, as if it were in another dimension. If you use restrained power to beat it until it loses the battle, it will also be unable to subdue it due to fainting. Especially the shell ninja's fainting is even more special. That is, only the shell is left. As if I have never experienced the same fainting. Abby tried hard for a long time, but the escape ninja didn't move at all. Not only his position, but even his black hole-like eyes didn't change at all. Point after a while, Abby had to give up. Sure enough, I guess Ninja can't be considered an insect Pokémon. Abby said helplessly. Point obviously his communication skills are for the insect type, but this shelling ninja is not the same as the one in the rumors. It seems to be dull. Violet was also a little confused at this time point. Although I have never seen a truly wild shelling ninja, I have always heard of it. Normally, they shouldn't be so honest, just waiting for communication, so motionless, but this is convenient for trainers who want to conquer it. Eminem seemed to see something at this time, so he stepped forward. Point at this moment, Eminem stretched out his hand towards the shell ninja, with his palm facing its head. Point one person and one worm are having silent intercourse. Eminem found that he couldn't communicate with it either. No. It's not unable, but lack of communication goals. During Eminem's tentative communication, he discovered that the shell ninja in front of him seemed to be really just an empty shell. Point. Although it came back to life, it was only the power from the shadow dimension that was injected into the insect's life, giving it life. Whether this kind of unconscious thing can be regarded as life is also debatable. Point then, after being surprised, Eminem tried to fully stimulate the animal senses. The next moment, Abby and others also discovered that under Eminem's communication, the shell ninja started to move. Just by looking at this, we can judge that Eminem's communication efficiency with the escape ninja is much higher than that of Abby. Point and then, I saw that the painting style of the shedding ninja had changed slightly, while Eminem took out the insect catching ball with his eyes blankly, and then the shedding ninja approached the insect catching ball on his own and drilled in. Only then did Eminem come back to his senses. He was completely controlling the body of the shell ninja just now, so he seemed a little sluggish. Point at the same time, the iron masked ninja was shocked. He flew around Eminem in confusion, as if looking for that thing that imitates himself. Leave the ninja in the iron mask to me. Seeing that AB and Mew didn't move, Violet stepped forward and started taking pictures of the ninja in the iron mask. Point at first, the iron mask was quite resistant to the flash, but later, he began to actively cooperate with the posing. Point and what Eminem is thinking about is this shell ninja really considered alive? Reminiscent of some hypothesis about the origin of the shelling ninja. If the escape ninja is essentially the product of an insect slough connected to an inexplicable creature from the shadow dimension, then, could it be that double card was forcibly activated by the shelling ninja, and this connection did not occur at all? If this is the case, it would make sense for the current shelling ninja to behave like a plant insect. Point at this moment, outside the insect catching venue, and in the breeding area, the insect experts in Hoopy Town were already excited. Unexpectedly, such a surprise would appear so early in the morning. Escape ninja? Come on. Come on. What? Someone subdued the ninja in the venue. There are ninjas in the venue? Is this really an insect type? Why isn't it an insect type? Can't you feel the power of the insect type in my body? Wait a minute. How should the points be calculated? There is no such template. Calculate the highest score according to the standard template. Chapter 814 Living Doll. When Eminem came out of the forest, where the insect catching competition was held, he received a warm welcome, especially after seeing AB walking with them. This means that Eminem's process of conquering the ninja in shell is indeed completely uncontroversial. Point in other words, the rare case of the escape ninja being subdued really happened at the insect catching conference. This is also something that Hoopy Town needs to focus on publicizing. No. 211. Eminem. Wait, is it that Eminem? Probably not. This Eminem is so handsome. Why not? Look carefully. If you say so, is that because of the Mac-up on TV? Although Eminem didn't have that much time, but since he conquered the shelling ninja at the insect catching conference, He naturally followed them and stayed in Hoopy Town for 2 more days to cooperate with the publicity point. Originally, Eminem wanted to agree directly, but then Tom Moyer coughed a few times, and Eminem remembered that his publicity rights in the Johto area were signed to Tom Moyer. Tom Moyer also took the opportunity to discuss with the other party and implanted the soft advertisement of Mom's Classroom in the promotion of insect catching conference. Eminem is also happy and relaxed. This way, he doesn't have to judge whether there will be any problems in publicity. It is left to Chise to make full judgment. Eminem is only responsible for appearing in the scene and reciting the lyrics. Although there is no fighting club in Hoopy Town, RB entertained Eminem in the gym, and the training ground here is also very large. Point of course, the training ground in the gym here is more suitable for the insect type, but other types can also be used. Therefore, apart from cooperating with the interview time, Eminem did not delay training point in these 2 days. The main gain is that, firstly, it deepens Eminem's understanding of ninja out of the shell, and secondly, that is, it promotes Eminem's true appearance, because he was going to be on TV again. Eminem specifically asked Violet to help him put on the same makeup as when he was on TV before. He also put on a monocle and a retro academic uniform. Violet, as a cameraman, was very familiar with makeup. There will be some point in this way. Everyone will not feel that there is a big difference. They will only feel that Mr. Eminem's previous makeup was so modest. In addition, maybe the people who put Eminem's makeup on before had to endure hardship, just as Eminem's fan following is growing day by day. That is Eminem's understanding of ninja out of the shell. Point: this shell ninja that Eminem just conquered is really completely unconscious. To a certain extent, Eminem can really stimulate the synchronization of animal perception to the extreme point. After all, synchronization and tacit understanding are not the same. No matter how tacit understanding or bonding is high, other Pokémon are self-aware and cannot be completely synchronized in the true sense. Point: but this shell ninja can. Compared to a Pokémon, it is more like a living doll. The insect's laugh, left when the Iron Mask evolved, plus the power of the shadow dimension, can create a creature that can accommodate consciousness and form real life. The body is a basis for the existence of ninja out of the shell, and it is also an objective fact. Point: and now this escape ninja is truly unconscious, and Eminem can truly control it without any hindrance. It was born under the influence of the ability of Double Card. The initial consciousness was copied by Double Card from the Iron Mask. Later, the copy disappeared, and it lost consciousness. But this also makes Eminem a little confused. After such training, is it worthwhile? Obviously, if you want to train such a shelled ninja to grow, you can only do it yourself. But, not to mention that in the future, it is very likely that it is controlled by human consciousness, and then it will happen. Growth bottlenecks, even barriers, and more importantly, the cost effectiveness when actually going into battle. If it were a single Pokémon duel, it wouldn't be a big problem. At most, Eminem, as a trainer, would look dull outside the field. Point: if it is a double Pokémon duel, if Eminem wants to control the shell ninja, he will have lost a certain command ability. Of course, Eminem may be able to develop, when he is on the field as a Pokémon, double skills to command another Pokémon. Point: and the most important impact is during the wild fight. That's an epic nerf, paying the price of being in a daze to control an escape ninja. Unless this shelled ninja has the power to surpass Little Flash and become a true beast level power, that is, just like the guy from Team Galaxy who fainted and released a Darkrai when we first saw him. People's Darkrai is strong after all. Is it true that Eminem's daze can only control a shell ninja? Considering that Eminem still has Twinkle, he has to be able to control Pokémon that is stronger than Twinkle. Otherwise Eminem will feel like he's at a loss. After all, when fighting, the main body is a cover door, and it is taboo to be in a daze, let alone command other Pokémon. What's more, after Eminem is promoted again, he will directly transform into a bear, be able to fight, and improve his survivability. Isn't Yi Dao's performance controlling a shelling ninja? Of course, it's not without its benefits when training Pokémon. The most mainstream method is to learn and master skills to comprehensively promote one's own growth, and Eminem can use Cloak Card. Kuro Card contains skills that have corresponding genes for ninja out of the shell. When Eminem controls the ninja out of the shell, he can activate and master them efficiently, thus improving more quickly. And if you want to bring out the ability of the escape ninja on the battlefield, you need to be scheming and wisdom. Eminem appears in person, and of course he is more composed than any other Pokémon, so he doesn't have to worry about getting too hot-headed after some weighing. Eminem decided not to train the main force for now, but to practice when he has time. After all, it is still quite useful on the battlefield. It doesn't matter, even if it's only 1 month away from the rookie competition point, not to mention the special characteristics of Shell Ninja. Eminem is confident that he can train it to a higher level than other real newcomer Pokémon. Besides, Shell Ninja does not require any level. Going up is cheating, sneak attack, or exchanging venues. Why do you need levels, especially at this time? There was also good news that was beneficial to Eminem. The time for the Johto region rookie competition has been announced. The registration period starts on February 28th and lasts until March 10th, with the official competition starting on March 11th. Because February 28th is here. Even if you received a Pokémon trainer on March 1st last year, you don't have to worry about your newcomer statute of limitations expiring. Generally speaking, the rookie competition is around this time, but the specific date fluctuates. This year's date is relatively later. For newcomers like Eminem, who have short training time and high efficiency, a few more days will still make a difference very big. Chapter 815 Confused Forest. Alliance February 4th. 201. Amu and his party bid farewell to AB and Zluolan and left Hoopy Town as the champion of this year's insect catching competition in the town. Eminem naturally got his 7th badge. When leaving, Violet also invited Eminem, if you come to the Carlos area in the future, don't forget to go to the White Sandalwood Gym Point. After leaving Hoopy Town, the itinerary of Amu and his party headed towards the east coast of the peninsula. The west coast is dominated by forest terrain, mainly the oak forest that passed through before, while the east coast is crossed by the Cypress mountain range from north to south. Although there are forests along the coast, the ecology is very different from the western part of the peninsula, because of the mountains blocking it. Blocked by mountains and rivers. Although the forests on the east coast are small in area, they have high humidity and slightly higher temperatures, so they are denser and more secluded. When Amu and his party left Hoopy Town, they first entered the Hoopy Mountains. Sometimes climbing over the mountains, sometimes drilling holes. During this period, Sakura also sealed 2 more claw cards. It wasn't until February 8th that the 4 of them came out of the cave entrance on the east side. After taking a break at a Pokémon service point in the wild, they changed their route through the coastal forest. Did we get lost here just now? Sakura suddenly discovered that the 2 strange trees here looked familiar. It seems true, but it's obviously not like this on the map. Chais also frowned at this time point, but just then, only the upper half of the 2 strange trees was seen, and suddenly each of them opened a pair of scholar eyes, and in the next moment, before the strange tree could react, a Jenga suddenly jumped out from the shadow on the ground, making a sudden grimace. Affected by the fright of Jenga, only the upper part of the strange tree suddenly fell off, and the 2 frightened Deadwood demons ran away. Quack. Jenga laughed like a villain. Yes, this Jenga is of course Eminem's ghost stone. At the Pokémon service point outside the cave before, Eminem had replaced the ghost stone with it. This was also the Pokémon service point's suggestion. There are many ghost type Pokémon in this forest point, and like most ghost type Pokémon, pranks are their favorite thing. Although it is not as scary as the various weird legends in ancient times, it is true that ghost type Pokémon can escape from fear. Draw strength from the ghost type Pokémon in this confused forest loves to make people get lost, so when you come out of the cave tunnel, you can see the service point. Everyone is reminded that, if you want to enter the confusion forest, you must have at least 1 Pokémon of the ghost, super, or evil type. Dreams, and preferably the first 2. Otherwise you will definitely get lost. Ghost type can mingle with the Pokémon inside. Evil type can scare troublesome ghost type Pokémon, and psychic type Although theoretically restrained by ghost type, the theory is just a theory. Reality is reality. Point in the battle. The ghost system is immune to physical impact, while other systems, even if they are not restrained, will have a large proportion of physical impact when attacking, and the damage caused will be missing. Although the super energy system is theoretically restrained, but the proportion of physical impact during attack is small, so it is actually not too disadvantageous. Note 1. And outside of battle, in terms of spirits and gods, the superpower system is even more expert at exorcising ghosts. In order to adapt to the environment here, the townspeople of the nearby town have almost every household with a super type Pokémon, so it is called Super Town. Eminem directly exchanged it for Ghost Stone, which can be said to be evil ghosts have their own evil ghost mill. Along the way, the wild ghost type Pokémon in the forest were scared to death. Although even if they don't change, Eminem will still take Leoben with him. But evil type only has a deterrent effect on ghost type, so that they don't dare to approach at will, and they will still seek death. That's the Kuchiki demon, right? Ghost Stone, have you discovered it a long time ago? Why didn't you drive them away the first time? Sakura asked helplessly. It's fun to scare them when they are relaxed, Ghost. GGG. Ghost Stone said with a strange smile. That's right. Those two deadwood demons had appeared in front of them once before, disguised on the tree, which made the tree look strange, and left an impression on Eminem and others. Then they copied it, and disguised themselves again, causing the illusion that Eminem and others have gone back. Okay, we should be arriving at Super Town soon. Let's hurry up today and have dinner when we get to Super Town, Eminem said after looking at the map. The scope of the Forest of Confusion is not large, far inferior to that of the insect forest. Regardless of the ghost type Pokémon in it, if it causes trouble, you can quickly reach Super Town. Then work harder. It's really uncomfortable in the gloomy place. Tomoyo agreed to hurry up, even though it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's a normal trip, you can start looking for a suitable campsite, but since it's almost here in Super Town, it doesn't matter if you rest later. You're not going to play anymore, Ghost? Ghost looked very regretful. Because the Confusion Forest is too lush and eerie. Perhaps that's why so many ghost type Pokémon breed. It's almost completely dark after 4 o'clock in the evening. As a result, ghost type Pokémon in the forest move more frequently, trying their best to make Eminem and others get lost. Finally, Eminem released Leoban to clear the way. Only then at 8 o'clock in the evening did he walk out of the forest and see the crowds of people. The patrol officers at the entrance of the town came to check after hearing the sound of the motorized lizard. When they saw someone there, they were surprised and said, "Huh, you are really amazing. You are still walking in the Forest of Confusion at night." I saw patrol officers riding special sidecar motorcycles. The shape of this bucket is not designed for humans sitting in it. Ah no, it's lying down, and it's not a human being, but a slowpoke. Well, how can normal super type Pokémon be so easily conquered? In other words, slowpoke is easier to tame, or other ways, regardless of whether you want to subdue him or not. The family invites his slowpoke back to keep it. Most of the time, slowpoke sits in the yard in a daze every day, and is too lazy to leave. Nearby is the slowpoke well where slowpoke thrives. So every family here has Super Pokémon. It is said to be Super Town, but it is actually better to call it Slowpoke Town. Note 1. In fact, the animation here is because in the first generation, Superpower System was resistant to Ghost System. So a Superpower Town was created in the forest with many Ghost Systems. The second generation, at the beginning of the generation, it was weakened to be restrained by Ghost type, but this book describes it according to the setting in the book. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 816 Bullmaster. Cheoneng Town is different from Hoopy Town. Although they both have forests on one side and the sea on the other, Cheoneng town occupies a small area and is a real small town point. The Pokémon Center in the town is just a single story facade with a 3-story building in the backyard. When the four of them arrived at Super Town, it was already very late, so they went directly to the Pokémon Center. As you can see along the way, the nightlife in the town is not rich. However, because the Pokémon Center is not large, the dinner time in the free cafeteria has long ended, so the four hungry people, after putting their luggage in the room, went out to look for an open restaurant point. Under the guidance of the Pokémon Center guide, the four of them walked to the northeast of the town. It is said that the night economy here is better, and many shops are open late. The entire super town is bordered by the forest to the west and the coast to the east. Because it is a shoal coast, there is no decent port, but the east side is more lively. After all, in the west, because it is next to the Confusion Forest, ghost type Pokémon occasionally come to play pranks. So everyone is used to not going out much at night. As for the southeast direction, it is where the Well of Slowpoke is located, and it is usually relatively quiet. It was already past 9 o'clock at this time. At this time, there was only one block in the northeast where restaurants could be found. Along the way, Eminem also discovered that many passers-by were indeed carrying super-type Pokémon. Although they were all Kirinki, Eggy, Slowpoke and the like, they were not very authentic. It's a superpower system, but it's also a wonder that can't be seen elsewhere. Of course, there are more ghost type Pokémon than in other places, and they are basically from the surrounding forests. After all, such a good resource cannot be used just to prevent trouble without other uses. Similarly, the ghost building here is naturally indispensable. Just this place. Xiaolan will not come here, even if she kills her. Are you going to the gym to challenge tomorrow? Tomoyo asked about Eminem's arrangements. I'll sign up in the morning, and I'll probably have to wait for arrangements. In the afternoon, I'll go visit a friend of teacher Jumu. Amu said. There are two well-known gyms in Super Town. One is a super type gym and the other is a ghost type gym. The current official gym qualification is in the hands of the super type gym. In addition, when Dr. Jumu knew that Eminem was in Manjin Peninsula, he told him that if he came to Super Town, remember to go to Steel Master to say hello. Steel Master? Oh, is it the master who made the Pokeball? Tomoyo also had an impression of this person. There is a dumpling restaurant here. Zio, do you want to eat this? I want to eat this was written all over Sakura's face, so Eminem and Tomoyo also walked in. Well, it is said that I'm an old acquaintance with Mr. Jumu and Grandma Rexy, especially in terms of Pokeballs, and there are many overlaps with Mr. Jumu's research projects. After Amu sat down, he continued to answer, but Grandma Ike didn't specifically tell Eminem to visit. In fact, there is generally no need to be so polite, according to teacher Jumu. It is also because this Steel Master has a temper like his name, which is very hard, that is, very stubborn. That's why I pay special attention to these red tapes. If Eminem hadn't gone, if it was found out later, he would have complained about Jumu again, and he would have complained in a righteous and denunciatory way. As for Grandma Rexy, he didn't get used to his bad habits, and he didn't dare to say anything to Grandma Leixi. Making a Pokeball? Aren't the Pokeballs just different in appearance? Sakura wondered at this time. Even Sakura would occasionally listen to a sentence or two during class. After all, there are always times when her mind wanders accidentally. This is common sense. There was a Pokeball scam a few years ago, so in class we'll emphasize, they are standard Pokeballs that are generally available on the market. They only differ in appearance, but there are still some special ones. For example, the kind of ball used during the insect catching competition in Jupi Town was special, and could directly capture the Pokémon. Transported to a designated breeding area, this type is functionally special. There are also some rarer cones that are used, which are different and rare varieties. However, because of their scarcity, there are no industrial production lines for this type of cones, so they can only be made manually. What we talked about in class is also Elf Ball. The basic effect is only related to cones. Tomoyo explained at this time. Deo G Group has a special channel for purchasing Pokeballs. So she naturally understands this. The former's functionally special ones are similar to the insect ball that I have seen before, as well as the alert ball that Junsha usually equips, which automatically pops up Pokémon when the trainer loses consciousness and the rockets forcibly restrain them. Mewtwo's restraint ball also falls into this category, but this last one is an illegal product. In addition, the cones used are rare varieties, which are elves with different abilities. They are often used differently from normal elf balls. Eminem has also seen it. Shinetown, Old Man Fuji, Namendo. Those masks originated from the technology of the Ninja Village era and the Uzumaki clan. They seem to be masks, but in fact they function as Elves Ball, which works wonders against ghost-type Pokémon. The Gowl mask obtained from the Kato clan that Mew returned to Shinamendo even contains the power of the contract with Giratina. When conquering Pokémon, it is possible to obtain Giratina. Dinner's power helps. It is precisely because of industrialized production that the living space for handmade Pokéball craftsmen is extremely small. Experts like Iron Master are naturally famous, but mid to low-end handmade Pokéball craftsmen are completely overwhelmed by the production line, and there is no one is engaged in the value of it, which also caused the overall decline of the handmade Pokéball industry. The pharmacist industry almost did the same back then. Eminem also sighed at this time. Hearing this, Sakura was surprised. Then no one can process the special cones in the future, and no one can make the special Pokeballs that must be made by hand. Maybe, but the attitude of the major alliances towards things like special Pokeballs is inherently ambiguous. It is true that there are some special elf balls that will make it easier to conquer them, but the problem lies in the simplicity. Only making it easier to conquer them will not be helpful for training or building bonds. Ordinary trainers use special balls to tame Pokémon, and the probability of the Pokémon breaking away and affecting in the end is much greater than with ordinary balls. In this regard, special Pokéballs are not as necessary as standard Pokéballs. Amu said matter-of-factly. Lowering the difficulty of conquering is actually in conflict with the basic logic established by major alliances, but it is indeed necessary in some special times. Therefore, the alliance adopted a laissez-faire attitude towards the production of special Pokéballs, allowing them to be completely destroyed and drastically reduced in scale. As for the few remaining ones, such as Old Man Fuji, Steel Master, they have nothing to do with ordinary trainers. Chapter 817 Steel. The day after arriving in Super Town, Eminem came to the Super Gym early in the morning. Compared with other Super Gyms, the Super Gym in Cheowan Town seems a bit amateurish, and a bit sorry for the name of this town. Other superpower gyms usually teach superpower cultivation methods, and are more like dodges for various meditation schools. As for the Super Gym here, the basic course is to teach students how to train Pokémon that have super attributes but are not serious super types when they have no superpowers. Even advanced courses only teach students how to gradually awaken their superpowers through these Pokémon whose secondary attributes are superpowers. It can be said to be quite practical. Of course, this does not mean that it is not good or promising. In fact, the scale of this gym is quite small. Generally in a small town of this size, the official gym can be smaller, but in fact, there are quite a few students here. After all, this is one of the few super type gyms that does not choose qualifications. What's more, there are also a large number of young people in the local area who have no super type qualifications but have slowpoke, all of whom are potential students. When registering, the receptionist took Eminem's illustrated book, and after a little inquiry, he found, do you want to sign up for the 8th badge? Immediately, at the registration site, many people looked at Eminem, who was wearing sunglasses and a hat. After all, most of the people who signed up were newcomers, challenging for the 8th badge. In their eyes, it was still very enviable. Look, that person is challenging for the 8th badge. She should be still very young. It would be great if I could challenge for the 8th badge in these 2 years. Does this make you look young? I think he is not only young, but also handsome. When Eminem heard the commotion around him, he lowered the brim of his hat calmly and confidently. Well, how long will it take to wait in line? No need to queue. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, venue number 1. The receptionist said immediately. There are not many trainers who come here to challenge the badge. The 8th badge is directly fixed at a fixed time and at the exhibition venue. I'll register later. Huh? Are you? Shh. Eminem interrupted her this time. The receptionist immediately whispered, "Okay, Mr. Eminem, but we may briefly promote it later." Eminem nodded. She was not allowed to say it here because Eminem didn't want to be watched, because the gym notified the time directly. Eminem didn't have to wait specially and went to the Iron Master's workshop in the morning. Iron Master's Pokeball workshop is in the southeast of the town, not far from the Well of Slowpoke. Hearing that he was a stubborn person, Eminem didn't bring anyone else with him and just came to the door alone. It was different from what Eminem had imagined. When he saw the plaque with the word steel written on it outside, Eminem was a little hesitant. It looked like it was just a wooden house for a small workshop, or the workshop of the Master of Steel. With his reputation as a steel master, Eminem thought it would be a place similar to a research institute. Unexpectedly, it is just a workshop, or a very simple personal workshop. As you get closer, you can hear clanking sounds coming from inside, as if something is being built. Well, unlike the mask making technique of Old Man Fuji of Azta Town that was passed down from the Uzumaki clan, the Iron Master's style relies on the reaction between metal and cones to stimulate the power of the cones. The door outside the small courtyard was closed. After Eminem noticed it was locked, he patted it. At the same time, he was also worried about whether he could hear the knocking due to the loud movement inside. But Eminem didn't have to worry for too long. Soon an angry voice came from inside. "We won't accept individual customers. Nowadays, there are very few people who can make special Pokeballs, such as Iron Master and Old Man Fuji, and there are also very few customers who can sell or accept customized special Pokeballs. Ordinary trainers, no matter how much money they pay. Firstly, it is because there is no time, and secondly, it is beyond the control of ordinary trainers after all. Special Pokeballs like Iron Master are pretty good, like Old Man Fuji, or the ancient craftsmanship of the Uzumaki family, the mask that can cast Gal Seal, which is basically the Overlord's bow, and even brought Giratina to help. That's why the Kato clan thought of using the Gal mask they bought to capture Celebi. There is no publicity about Steel Master's workshop here. Occasionally, trainers who happen to know about it will come to buy special elf balls. Steel has dealt with this situation a lot, and it is inevitable that he will have no patience. Iron Master, I'm Mr. Jumu, and a student of Grandma Rexy. I passed by Supertown to visit you. Eminem shouted from outside. The sound of building inside stopped. Soon a somewhat bold old man came to open the door. Although his face was serious and his clothes were very retro, which fit Eminem's stereotype of a stubborn person, it could be seen that he heard that Jumu and Rex's students were coming to visit. Steel still forced his expression to be softer. "Come in. It's a bit messy here. You can sit wherever you like while I finish building this first." Gang Xiang led him into the small workshop. "You're busy," Amu said quickly. Indeed, the small workshop is also very messy. At first glance, it looks like a blacksmith shop. As soon as Steel entered working mode, his expression was meticulous again. Eminem also looked at what he was building at this time. Well, unlike masks or something, the finished product still looks like a Pokeball. Beside it is a fire beast, directly heating an anvil made of unknown material. But Eminem doesn't understand why cones and metal can be made together. After a while, the steel penetrated the newly made elf ball into the liquid and quenched it. It really looked like it was being forged. After putting the finished product aside, Xiangang turned around, looked at Eminem and said, "I know your name is Eminem, right?" He frowned a little. Of course Eminem had taken off his sunglasses and hat at this time, so he understood why Steel frowned. If he hadn't paid attention to the insect catching conference in Jupi Town next door, this would have been the first time he saw Eminem's true appearance. "Yes, Teacher Jumu and Grandma Leixi often mentioned you to me," Amu said politely. "Oh, did Jumu say that I'm stubborn and must come to visit? Rexy, has Rexy ever mentioned me?" Steel asked with a straight face. Slim Shady. Just as Amu was laughing, Steel suddenly seemed to hear something and looked south. Eminem was still confused when he saw this because he didn't notice anything. "It's really not the right time." I seem to have an uninvited guest. I'll take a seat first. Steel stood up at this time and brought the fire beast with him. Eminem saw that this was going to be a fight. How could he sit first and said quickly, Master Iron and Steel, will you take me to see the world? Chapter 818 The hero lands. Huh, come on, but I'm not at the point where I need protection yet, so you young people just don't hold me back. Steel naturally understood what Eminem meant, but still took him with him. Eminem even heard that there might be a fight, so he quickly followed. Then I saw Steel taking the Pokeball, riding on Fireman, heading south, and arriving at the well of Slowpoke not far away. Eminem also didn't expect that his workshop would be so close to the well of Slowpoke. I heard that it needs to be quiet here. It was quite noisy when he was building it, and Eminem thought it was still some distance away from the well of Slowpoke. What Eminem doesn't know is the ordinary residents of Supertown wanted to conquer the Slowpoke, thanks to the special balls provided by Steel. Although he would not provide special balls to ordinary trainers, he knew the residents here well, so he could naturally help create them. Otherwise, the Slowpoke will just be dull and too lazy to move around, and it will still be difficult for ordinary people to conquer it. Therefore, the people in the town not only highly value and tolerate Steel, but Steel himself does need materials from Slowpoke to create special balls for the residents of the town. This is the well of Slowpoke, Amu said with emotion. There was a wellhead in the distance that didn't look special, but it was specially circled around it, and there were a few Slowpoke beasts lying outside, making Eminem guess what kind of place it was. Nothing looks like it from the outside. The main thing is below the well. It is said that there is an underground lake here, which is where Slowpoke mainly lives. This well was just opened there by local residents by chance. Steel seemed to have discovered something at this time and urged the fire beast to speed up. Wait. This is. Eminem also discovered after getting closer that the Slowpoke lying outside was injured, and this injury, Slowpoke usually likes to raise its tail when lying down. It was only after Eminem got closer that he remembered, why don't these Slowpoke have their tails raised? As I got closer I found it's cocked, but the tip of the tail is missing because it's a little short. I didn't notice it just now. Coming closer, Gang also quickly stepped forward to check what's going on. Is this too much? Eminem discovered that indeed, the tips of the tails of the Slowpoke beasts outside were missing, although the tip of the Slowpoke's tail, like the lizard, can originally regenerate. After all, it usually uses the sugar secreted by the tail tip to fish for food, and it is not uncommon for it to be bitten off occasionally. But, before the tail tip regenerates, Slowpoke will have a harder time foraging, and will be less energetic. As for the Slowpoke beasts in front of us, it was obviously not possible that they all missed fishing by chance. In all likelihood, they were cut off artificially, directly forcibly taking Pokémon materials. What kind of behavior is this for a Pokémon hunter? Fortunately, due to the physiological structure of Slowpoke's tail, there was no blood and flesh flying everywhere at the scene, including the injured Slowpoke, who was all lying there blankly at this time, with a stable mood. On the one hand, it is inherently dumb, and on the other hand, Slowpoke's tail does not have any pain sensing nerve. Steel seemed to know something from the beginning. At this time, he turned over and got off the fire beast and immediately ran to the well mouth, then turned over and jumped into it. Eminem also quickly followed. Normally, outsiders are not allowed to approach the well of Slowpoke. If you want to conquer it, you can only conquer those outside, but you don't have to worry about anything. If you follow Steel, there is no cramped or dark feeling underneath the well. Instead, it is very spacious and even bright. Not only the sunlight at the mouth of the well, but also the surrounding photosensitive moss completely brings the sunlight in. After Eminem jumped down, he saw that Gang was in a hero landing pose. He looked very handsome, and he was indeed getting stronger at the same time. As soon as he landed, Eminem noticed that there was water here, probably up to his ankles. Judging from the faint sound of water, if you walked in, the underground lake would be deeper. Who is he? Amu looked around, but found no enemy. Steel. Master? Eminem suddenly discovered that Steel had been maintaining the hero landing posture. Haha, I have already prepared. Slim Shady. I left my companion, King Day here, so I discovered it right away. Slim Shady just waiting to catch up with those guys. Slim. Shady, Steel said confidently, but he never changed his posture. Do you always get up to your waist? Amu asked tentatively. I see. Are you worried that, after I chase you in, those guys will take the opportunity to bypass us and escape from here? Gang didn't know how he heard it. I have wound medicine here. Eminem took out the spray from the portable bag on his trouser leg. I didn't expect that. Even though you are young, you still have a very bright mind. Steel continued. Eminem handed over the spray, but the old man still didn't move. But you could see that Steel, who had been lowering his head and landing as a hero, was indeed shaking at this time. Then, you always here to cut off the enemy's rear? Amu asked tentatively and put the medicine next to his hand. Well, although I don't have much confidence in your strength, in order to catch those bad guys this time, let's treat it as a test for young people. Steel's words finally made him somewhat comparable to Eminem. At this moment, a Pokémon ball popped out of Steel's waist. It seems that this old man still has some mental power. I saw only one. The giant blacksmith, who is small in stature, only about 70 centimeters tall, is pink in color, resembles a humanoid, looks cute, but carries a super huge hammer. In front of Mew, little Judeng, you go find a Wang and let this young man accompany you. Steel said while maintaining the posture of a hero landing. Forging? The giant blacksmith was a little confused and walked forward with some curiosity, looking at the Steel from bottom to top. Go. Quickly. Don't worry, I'll leave this to me. Steel said in a very reliable tone. However, the giant blacksmith had already put down his huge hammer at this time, as if he was going to lift up the Steel. Well, you can tell how heavy this thing is from the huge splash and sound it makes when the giant hammer hits the ground. Seeing that the giant blacksmith's seemingly slender little hand was about to grab the old arm of Steel pestle, Eminem quickly pulled it. Ahem. A little giant forge, right? Mr. Steel is going to break the queen, so you can take me to King Slow first. After Eminem stopped him, he could feel the power even more. It looks so small, but it feels even more powerful. Force? Little Giant Forge tilted his head and finally understood what Amu and Iron Steel meant, so he did not forcefully support Iron Steel, but raised his giant hammer again. When she lifted the giant hammer up too fast, it caused splashes of water, and Eminem quickly dodged it. Eminem suspected that, if she had been asked to help him just now, he could have beaten the Iron Master. DUI. Zio Judo said, and pointed forward. Eminem also heard that it might not be the first time something happened in the well of Slowpoke recently, so Steel left his Slowpoke King here, so that he could know immediately that an enemy was coming. Little Judeng was also able to find his companion, the stupid King Awang, and upon seeing this, Amu followed him. Forge. 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 On the road, the little giant looked like a primary school student going to clear the snow. He looked very excited. The sledgehammer on his shoulders was swinging rhythmically, and the blast of hammer blows made Eminem couldn't help but stay away from her. Chapter 819 Believe in Science. Eminem followed the Iron Master's great forge and walked all the way to the depths of the underground lake. Fortunately, as the water gets deeper and deeper, it becomes more and more open, and the ground on both sides is very high, so there are roads that can be walked without water otherwise. For Eminem, the water is not even up to the knees, which is acceptable, but for the giant blacksmith, it is even neck deep, considering that she has to carry a giant hammer. Eminem can't hug her either. During this section of the road, the small lake turned into a small stream, and Eminem continued to follow it, that is, towards the source. Forge. 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 The little giant was shouting the beat and stepping forward. He looked very energetic and was swinging the giant hammer he was carrying. If it weren't for the faint sound of breaking through the air, Eminem would probably feel that this was the case. Made of foam or balloons. On the way, Eminem was also thinking about the Slowpoke attack. Well, in the game, this should be done by Team Rocket. It is true that Slowpoke's tail has a certain material value because it secretes a special substance, but Eminem doesn't think that the current rockets will do it for money, so there should only be one person who knows the truth, although Eminem couldn't find relevant literature on the internet. He still contacted Sister King Mui through the illustrated book and asked her to ask Grandma Rexy if there was any evidence or rumors that Slowpoke's tail can grow hair in Rainbow City. Boss Sakaki suddenly felt a chill in his head, as if he was being targeted by something. After touching his hairline, Sakaki looked in the mirror. Strange to say, he didn't feel it at all before, but after Eminem mentioned it, he really felt as if he was moving day by day. At this moment, Sakaki suddenly received a private message from Eminem and forwarded an article. Can Megatooth shark fins aphrodisiac? Can Slowpoke's tail grow hair? These life tips are all fake. Inexplicable. Sakaki muttered. If it hadn't been for Eminem's failure of the Clearcliff reagent experiment a while ago, Sakaki would have blocked him now. Huh. There's a sound in front. SHHH. After hearing something, Eminem quickly silenced the little giant. Dao. Ziojudo didn't understand why he had to be quiet, but he finally said shh and then started to keep quiet and tiptoe. Stay, stupid. The faint cry of Slowpoke came from ahead, and Eminem also realized that he should be close to the crime scene. This is not the first time that the Slowpoke in the well of Slowpoke has been hurt. Otherwise Steel would not have prepared in advance and left his Slowpoke King here. But at this time, Eminem identified the sound, and it seemed that he didn't hear the sound other than Slowpoke. Is it still safe for now? No. It seems that some Slowpoke is getting anxious. Eminem hurriedly took a few steps forward. After turning a corner, he suddenly saw a larger underground lake. In the lake, he saw two groups of Slowpoke confronting each other. After careful identification, Eminem discovered that one side was the celestial crowned Slowpoke that is common in Kanto, and the other side. At first glance, there was no difference in appearance or body shape, but if you pay closer attention, you will find that the tops of their heads and the tips of their tails all are yellow. This is Gala Slowpoke. Amu realized that this was another ethnic group. The Slowpoke in the Gala region is different from the Slowpoke in the Shianguan continent. Not only are the colors of their heads and tails different, but the taste of the tail is also said to be spicy. What's even more obvious is that there are two tall rock protrusions in the lake at this time, and there is a Slowking standing on each of them. The Slowpoke side of the Sky Crown continent is probably the Steel Slowpoke King. Compared with the ordinary Slowpoke before evolution, it is not only slightly larger, but also has an extra umbrella shape on its neck. What's more striking is that there is a huge shell on the head that looks like a crown. Most wild Slowpoke will never evolve during their lifetime, because its evolution method does not evolve naturally as it grows, but requires the use of the big tongue shell, a Pokémon material produced when the big tongue shell evolves into a spiny shell. And among the evolved Slowmans, most of them also evolved into Slowmans. That is, the shell part is embedded in the tail. Only the king of the group with a kingly demeanor may evolve into a Slowking with a shell on his head. After obtaining evolution materials, if it evolves into a slow shell beast, it will remain in a daze most of the time just like before it evolved, and will only occasionally be affected by poisons, and have flashes of inspiration. If it evolves into Slowking, because the toxin directly enters the brain, it will produce a wonderful reaction, activating the potential wisdom, and become one of the high intelligence Pokémon. After all, they are Pokémon with super type attributes, and the potential wisdom of the Slowpoke family cannot be underestimated. The King of Gala Slowman is generally similar, except that the umbrella-like structure on its neck is black and purple, and the shell on its head is larger, half covering its face, and it is also purple, making it appear somewhat fierce. Just by looking at the color, you can tell that the Slowking of Gala has dual element of poison plus superpower, not water plus superpower. The unevolved Galarian Slowpoke does not have the poison system, but it also does not have the water system. It has a single attribute of super energy system. This is probably because the Gala Slowpoke no longer lives in the water or fishes for a living, but rather likes to eat certain types of plants. This is also the strange thing about Eminem. Ordinarily, those plants are in the sky. Mainland China is not right. It's not surprising that someone tamed the Galarian Slowpoke and then came to the Skycrown continent, but how come there are so many wild individuals? At this time, there seems to be a conflict between the two Slowpoke groups, or rather, the two kings. I saw two Slowkings with different styles, having an indignant conversation on two raised rocks, or rather arguing, and the Slowpoke below, on the side of Chyangan. Continent Slowpoke beasts, one holds the tail of the other, forming a big ring one by one. Slim Shady, Eminem also didn't understand what this circular crossing formation was actually doing. As for the Gala Slowpoke, they were lying one on top of the other. There were several piles of them. It can be estimated that there were more slow beasts in Chyangan continent. Could it be that Gala Slowpoke bit off their tails? It's impossible. Amu was also a little confused. Although Gala's Slowking looks a little more ferocious, it is not a ferocious Pokémon. Forge. Little Giant Forge pointed at the ordinary Slowking, as if to say hello, Day. King Day looked over after hearing this, and waved to her. When Eminem wanted to stop it, it was already too late. I saw the Galarian Slowpoke, all turning their heads to look over at this time, and the ring of Skycrown Slowpoke. In order to look over, each one wanted to swim around to see the angle here. The result is, it starts to spin in circles. Slim Shady, stay. Gala Kingdom pointed at Eminem and Little Judo with a very angry look, as if he was accusing the other party of looking for rescues. Wait, everyone, calm down first. Eminem felt that there seemed to be a misunderstanding between the two parties, so he waded into the water and came between the two parties. Then, just when Eminem wanted to use animal sense to communicate with the other party, he saw the crown of the King of Gala flying towards Eminem. Dang. The plot of Supertown is a combination of the animated Supertown, the game Well of Slowpoke, and the story of the Galarian Slowpoke crossing the ocean and meeting ordinary Slowpoke in the journey animation. The fact that King Slow's crown can float down and control people is something that can be seen in the journey animation. Chapter 820 Misunderstanding. Eminem felt that there might be a misunderstanding between the two parties, so he waded into the water to stop it. But just before Eminem was about to use animal senses on the excited Gala Slowking, he saw the purple shell crown on the opponent's head. At this time, he took off on the spot and put it on his head. Originally, Eminem had time to escape, but when he thought of the records about Slowking, it's all about communication anyway, so Eminem didn't dodge and was trapped directly. Human, how come you are not controlled? The consciousness of King Slow of Gala was directly transmitted into Eminem's mind. That's right, it originally wanted to control Eminem and take out a reinforcement on the opposite side first. Hello, my name is Eminem. Are you from Gala? I'm not hostile. Is there any misunderstanding between you and the Slowpoke here? Eminem was deliberately tricked and then took the opportunity to start communicating with the other party, and with Eminem's mental power, he was not easily controlled. Where is Gala? Everyone said that I'm the Slowpoke here. There is no misunderstanding. It must be those guys pretending to be stupid and secretly attacked my tribe. Gala stupid king said dissatisfied. It seemed that it had been mistaken for a visitor from Gala by others before. But in this case, Eminem still doesn't understand why Gala Slowpoke appears here. Generally speaking, if two celestial Slowpoke go to Gala to breed, due to the environment there is a high probability that the offspring will be a Gala Slowpoke, the same type of Pokémon. Even if the form is different, they are also genetically connected. This is the special characteristic of Pokémon. Similarly, even if someone releases Gala Slowpoke in the Skycrown continent, there is a high probability that those born will be Skycrown Slowpoke. There will be no Gala Slowpoke in 2 or 3 generations, and more of them will not exist. The formation of wild populations. But now is not the time to think about this. Eminem confirmed first. Have you been attacked too? Was the tail cut off too? Yes. It must be them. I don't have a spicy tail. I only have a sweet and disgusting taste, so I snatched the tail of my royal family member. Gala Slowking said very reasonably. Slim Shady. Is it possible that the Skycrown Slowpoke likes sweets? Eminem asked helplessly. Of course Slowpoke likes sweets. Inhaling the smell of a companion's tail is a way to judge whether you are compatible with the other person. This is an important social tool among the slowpoke group. The excuse of jealous of our hot tails is simply untenable. At the same time, Eminem thought about the state of the slowpoke outside. Eminem guessed that the slowpoke beasts here in Chianguan should also think the same way. They must be those hot perverts who want our sweet tails. So, the Sky Crown Slowpoke, under the command of King Slowpoke, formed a formation of protecting the tail in a ring, while the Gala Slowpoke were stacked together to ensure that when their tails were attacked, it's possible to fight back collectively. Sweet taste? Do you mean you like sweets? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The Slowpoke King of Galar is very empathetic. If he doesn't like sweet taste, he definitely doesn't believe that other Slowpoke will like it. Just when Eminem didn't know how to explain it, he suddenly heard a strange noise outside. Not good. Galar's Slowking's consciousness immediately receded, and Amu also felt that its crown had separated from him. Immediately, Eminem looked around again and saw 4 guys who seemed to be Pokémon hunters were about to attack 2 groups of Slowpoke. Fortunately, when they came over, they were discovered by Little Judeng first. At this time, he swung his sledgehammer and not only knocked away a few Heluga who were leading the attack, but also disrupted the opponent's sneak attack. Who are you? Amu asked, releasing the Pokémon he carried with him. Huh? Why is there someone else? Isn't that the Slowking who was standing there just now? Stop talking nonsense and get rid of him quickly. Otherwise, we will attract the locals. This person you know so handsome. Several Pokémon hunters saw this, and at this time they had to work harder. A group of Pokémon such as Black Luca, Monster Force, Giant Vine, and Giant Claw Mantis were either biting or using prop nets. Rope wants to restrict the actions of Little Master and Slowpoke. Especially the Giant Pincer Mantis, which is about to cut off its tail. But at this moment, many big guys suddenly appeared around Eminem. Bankillus, Majestic Fang, Moon Bear. This Linoop can be said to be very luxurious, and it's hard to mess with at first glance. Then, what's that mammoth? And what's that bear? It's it, the ultimate alien beast. Ah, he is. Who is at the press conference? The 4 Pokémon hunters are in chaos. At this time, Leoben roared directly, throwing out clusters of falling rocks condensed by the power of the rock system. The small plane condensed with star-like light, and then beams of light hit it. Rockfall. Magic shines. Under the cover of the first 2 waves of powerful group attacks, Dali flashed the sharp horns on his head, condensed an energy blade, rushed into the hunter's Pokémon group, and began to fight in close combat, and killed Weird Force and other humanoid Pokémon. The catching net in his hand was cut off. Eo didn't seem to be a threat, but he kept throwing cotton wadding. The frustrated enemy Pokémon immediately became inconvenient after it stuck to his body. After Gungan rolled up, the surrounding water, which was not deep, turned directly into huge waves. Although the little bad bear couldn't make earthquake accurately distinguish between ourselves and the enemy, it could still lock the impact within a certain range. He raised his paw and smashed it, and suddenly the water surface exploded in a spreading fan-shaped area. Since he was going to fight, of course Eminem had already used potions one by one. Not only did his overall abilities increase by a certain amount, but he could also use his skills as soon as he came out of the elf ball. Although there were 4 people on the other side and more than a dozen Pokémon, they were overwhelmed by Eminem alone. Obviously, these are different from the Pokémon hunters we saw in Clearcliff before. They are just little shrimps who usually move around in the Alliance, and are not considered ruthless bandits actually. This is the general strength of the Pokémon hunters that a traveling trainer can encounter in ordinary times. A ruthless gangster who can take out a king level Pokémon is a rare situation that ordinary people cannot encounter. 4 Pokémon hunters combined are not enough for Eminem to fight alone, not to mention there is a little giant forge here to help Eminem, and although the Slowpoke beasts have average combat effectiveness due to their personalities, they can still produce output in downwind situations. I saw the Galarian Slowpoke stacked up and spraying, dissolving liquid, together, greatly reducing the opponent's Pokémon's special defense, and the hunter's clothes began to dissolve. As for the Sky Crown Slowpoke, they were spinning faster and faster. Finally, in the middle of the circle, a huge water flow surged up, directly sweeping the 4 Pokémon hunters, as well as their Pokémon, that had been washed away in a mess. They all rushed back to the corridor where they came from. When Eminem saw this, he glared at them and then immediately chased after them to increase the enemy's displacement when focusing on output. Do you know how to play? He didn't just beat the person away, he also wanted to arrest him and hand him over to Junsha. At the same time, Jack, who came back to visit the Galarian morphological mutation incident of native Slowpoke, that is, the blonde male ranger whom Eminem met once on Clearcliff, happened to meet him not long ago. The Iron Master who Hero landed was also rushing inside at this time point. Then I saw a handsome guy was running after 4 half-closed Pokémon hunters. Jack. Chapter 821 Return Visit. You said you are Eminem? Haha, if I hadn't just met Eminem not long ago. Jack looked at the handsome guy in front of him warily. He actually called himself Eminem? Don't you look at how handsome you are? No, 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 Jack. I was just about to say, I saw you at Clearcliff, but you can't recognize me now. Look, that's right, right? Amu said, pointing. Refer to your own facial features, Jack. Well, Eminem has face blindness. If Jack were walking on the street now, Eminem would never recognize him. However, his hairstyle has not changed now, and he is still wearing a ranger's uniform. He also took the initiative to say, I met Eminem not long ago, and Eminem naturally recognized him. When Jack heard this, he was wary at first, then confused, and finally, suddenly said, ah, is it really, Mr. Eminem? How can you? I'm good at everything, but I'm usually too low-key. This is how I'm in private. Eminem said honestly, I see. Although Jack felt something was strange, he could only accept this setting. As for the 4 Pokémon hunters, they were all restrained at this time. While escorting them out, Eminem also asked Jack about the Gala Slowpoke. You're talking about that? I was originally here to pay a return visit for this matter, Jack said at this time. Return visit? Amu noticed this word, that is to say, has the ranger come to handle this matter before? Well, a few years ago some residents planted a batch of specialty crops from the Gala region nearby. As a result, some of the native Slowpoke were eaten, and Gala Slowpoke were bred. Due to the emergence of different racial groups, there were indeed some minor troubles. After all, the Galarian Slowpoke is still poisonous. The Ranger Association came to correct it. Now all the crops grown are domesticated crops. The Galarian Slowpoke, the number of sluts is also decreasing. I came here this time to investigate the proportion of Gala Slowpoke in the underground lake and whether it has any other impact on the ecology. Jack explained at this time point the main food of Gala Slowpoke is a type of plant unique to the Gala region, collectively known as Gala cardamom, and its evolution is also related to the accumulation of toxins in this food. After hearing Jack's words, Eminem understood clearly. It seemed that there would be Gala Slowpoke here, and it was not a magical thing, but the reverberation after an ecological crisis was resolved. These Pokémon hunters. Amu looked at these 4 guys. Well, after we return, we will also cooperate with the Alliance and conduct strict interrogations. Jack looked at the dejected people and said angrily, what happened this time was relatively ordinary. After all, Pokémon hunters of this level are not uncommon, and the nature of the case is far less severe than the Clearcliff incident, and those Slowpoke only had their tails cut off after they hunted the Slowpoke tail. Who was buying it? Eminem asked curiously. At present, it seems that the rockets are barely innocent this time point. If the acquirer is a pharmaceutical manufacturer, even if he finally finds an excuse to get away with it, Eminem must be careful not to cooperate with them in the future. Jack hesitated for a moment and then said, it should be Padia. Recently, similar incidents have occurred in other places. The evidence points to Padia, but that place is too closed, and the Patrol Association cannot start work there. What is it specifically? People are making acquisitions, so I'm afraid it's difficult to investigate. If it were someone else, Jack would have to consider whether leaking the news would make the other person think anything about it. After all, the price offered by Padia is very high, but thinking that it was Eminem, Jack didn't have to worry about this. Padia. Upon hearing this, Amu nodded as if understanding point. Although there is not much news related to Padia at the official level, but folk rumors indicate that in Padia, to this extent, that is, Pokémon are not hunted directly, but materials are violently obtained. Pokémon hunters are considered legal, don't they have Slowpoke there? Amu was wondering at this time why someone in Padia wanted to buy the Slowpoke tail from Shianguan continent at a high price, phew, and a large part of the Margala Slowpoke. Jack said, adding one more thing. It is said, it seems that Padia has discovered some new aquatic ancient Pokémon, and is experimenting with making special of bait, so it's in high demand. Well, Slowpoke itself uses its tail as bait to find food, which shows that its tail is indeed a good material for fishing bait. Point at this time, the two of them had returned to the mouth of the well, and saw, where's the Iron Master? Eminem discovered that the Iron Master from Hero Landing was no longer there. He should have gone up. When I came, I saw him spraying wound medicine. Cough. Maybe it's toner. Jack gave Steel a little face. Steel himself didn't admit it was wound medicine anyway. Eminem also released a small plane at this time and was sent directly up. Sure enough, Master Steel was outside at this time, and Steel was very angry when he saw the Pokémon hunter brought up by Jack. Eminem also briefly told the old man what was going on inside. King Slowpoke will stay for a few more days. Firstly, to help Slowpoke, which has no tail, and secondly, to reconcile with King Slowpoke in Gala form, to ensure harmony between the two groups. Just when Eminem said this, Jack immediately interrupted. What? Slowpoke in the form of Gala has evolved into Slowking. Yeah, what's wrong? Amu looked at him in confusion. Just now, Jack explained to Eminem why there were Galarian Slowpoke here. Why was he surprised now? Jack scratched his head and said, no. Although I thought at the time that Slowking could theoretically evolve, I originally thought the chance was low and there would be no problem. Is there anything bad? Eminem asked. Well, if the king evolves, the gradual disappearance of the Gala Slowpoke group here may slow down. Gradually disappearing means that the offspring of breeding will be native Slowpoke, and the mutated Gala Slowpoke will naturally die out after its lifespan is reached. Jack said with emotion. But it doesn't matter. I will announce the adoption news later. I hope there will be a trainer as soon as possible who can tame the Slowking. This isn't a problem with the evolved form, but with the king Pokémon, which are also generally more difficult to tame. After hearing this, Eminem thought for a while and said, I see. Then there is no need to publish it now. I will try to conquer it later. When they first communicated, Eminem discovered that the Gala Slowking not only had a high growth rate, but more importantly, its characteristic was strange medicine. This is also the unique characteristic of Gala Slowking, and it is a perfect match for the pharmacist. Chapter 822. It's time to get more scheming. After Jack left, Eminem wanted to help Steel go back, but as soon as he stretched out his hand, Steel glared back. I saw Steel returning to the workshop and straightening his waist while riding the fire beast. Eminem was afraid that he would not be able to rest well if he was there, so he quickly asked to leave. Wait, when are you going to conquer the Slowking? Gang stopped him. I'll try it at noon tomorrow. I have to go to the gym to challenge in the morning. Eminem pondered for a while before replying. As for now, firstly, King Slow has some clan issues to resolve, and secondly, it's almost dinner time, and Eminem is hungry too, so there's no need to get busy now. Well, then you come to my place first. Gang Xiang didn't say much about why, he just mentioned it. Just don't do it today. When Eminem heard that he was going to give himself a Pokeball, but he also thought of Iron Master's method of making Pokeballs, so he quickly looked at Iron Master's waist. It was not easy to move immediately. But then, under the glare of Iron Master, Amu stopped talking, and then Iron Master released the small giant forge again. Send off. Forging. Little Judean sent Eminem out again, counting the beats at the same time. Eminem looked at the little giant and felt relieved. It should be. She can do it for her, right? After leaving Iron Master's workshop, Eminem returned to the Pokémon Center and went directly to the restaurant without going back to his room. It's unexpected that I got along well with Iron Master. We actually chatted for so long. Tomoyo saw that Eminem had only come back during dinner time, and he was still a little puzzled. Didn't he say that Iron Master was very difficult to get along with? I happened to encounter something at the Well of Slowpoke. Amu didn't keep it secret and told the story of the Pokémon hunter. He just kept the matter of Iron Master's waste a secret. Is Padaya so messy? Sakura asked in surprise. By the way, your gym challenge has started to be promoted. Have you seen it? Tomoyo confirmed to Eminem. Well, you sent me a message. Eminem had also seen it. Although the gym in Supertown is not as leisurely as Zyokian in the previous full gold gym, it is still properly promoted. After all, it is the 8th badge challenge, and the challenger is a celebrity. The official gym here, and it's only relatively small. But looking at the arrangements, we know that there is no hope for the super gym. People will come from thousands of miles away to see it. There will be a gym challenge early the next morning. Only some local trainers will come, and the promotion will only be in the small town. The gym trainer has also decided that the 8-star gym trainer, whose performances are standard, will definitely go all out when the time comes. Tomoyo reminded. Eminem was stunned when he heard this. In the message he sent to himself, he really didn't mention the candidate for the gym trainer. There is no problem with this. After all, there is no rule that the challenger must be informed of the specific gym trainer, otherwise it will be easier to target. But looking at the news in the town, it is true that the gym trainers who will compete in the gym have also been introduced, and even the introduction page is larger than Eminem's page. I guess he is the proud disciple of the museum owner. Tomoyo said matter-of-factly. Although according to rumors, Eminem's strength is much higher than that of ordinary 8-star trainers. Firstly, among the 8-star trainers, he is relatively strong and has a relatively high winning rate. Secondly, as an 8-star trainer, losing there is no shame in giving it to Eminem. Of course, you can rest assured to promote. The rules have already been informed to Eminem. A regular 4vs4 doubles match. Considering that this is only the challenge for the 8th badge and his own strength, Eminem is ready to make waves. How about it? Hide your strength, or just continue to play with Gungan and Little Bad Bear? Tomoyo asked about Eminem's preparations. Although the gym has challenged the ban on video recording, and the tracking and punishment of illegal recordings are very strict, there are almost no video materials on the internet, and you can only watch them in person and browse oral materials and written materials. But the previous ones in Manjin City at that time, Zyokian promoted too much, and Eminem also played very seriously, which resulted in the strength of Gungan and Little Bad Bear being leaked more. Even if they are just rumors, due to the large number and concentration of information. People who know that Eminem's majestic teeth awakened, rolling, and Moon Bear has the trait of perseverance, and is good at, hold on, still don't know few. The 8th badge is not that challenging to Eminem. In other words, you can either use some less powerful Pokémon, such as Pio and Kikyu, to confuse the audience, or you can simply let Gungan and Little Bad Bear continue to crush them. Let me take a look at our least common Pokémon first. It shouldn't expose Gungan and Little Bad Bear anymore. Eminem's tone was more certain in the second half of his sentence. Ali is the gym trainer who will compete with Eminem tomorrow. Now that he knows who it is, he can naturally find some information. Because Eminem's majestic teeth and Moon Bear are now the focus of everyone's attention. Once they appear, the audience will definitely focus on verifying previous rumors. This way, they will be less likely to be disturbed by rumors. Slow Shell, Beast, Gem Starfish, Gotha Duck, Owl, Strange Unicorn, Strange Antler Deer, they are all subtle superpowers, Eminem said with emotion after seeing the information. Among them, Gotha Duck and Owl are not even of the superpower system at all, but they can indeed learn a lot of superpower system skills before they evolved. Deer with antlers and Gem Starfish were not superpowers, and the main attributes of Slow Shell Beast were not superpowers either. Among them, the most powerful one is Killin, which is the evolved body of Killin Key. Whether it is considered a serious superpower system is debatable. Anyway, if it is in Narz's gym, this superpower system trainer would certainly be humiliated. However, we cannot say that they are bad or low level. After all, the super type gym here focuses on civilianization, claiming that everyone can be a super type trainer. Eminem didn't look down on anyone, but after carefully studying these Pokémon, he felt, logically speaking, these should not have the evil ghost flying rock fire skill. What is evil ghost flying rock fire? That is to say, the 5 series that restrain the shell ninja. Without these 5 series of powers or some special awakening attributes, no one can do anything about the escape ninja. Listening to Eminem reciting evil ghost flying rock fire while reading the information, Tomoyo, who is rich in theoretical knowledge, wondered, do we need to use the shelling ninja? But, apparently, Tomoyo feels that Pokémon like Shell Ninja should be hidden. Eminem was engrossed in thinking at this time, and did not pay attention to listening, but Zio AI said directly from the side, the key to the use of ninja in the Pokémon duel is not hiding, but scheming. As he said this, he glanced at Eminem with disdain point, but Eminem didn't notice either. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 823 Gym Showdown. The greatest value for money of ninja out of the shell is not to suddenly show it out and scare everyone. Not to mention, it is impossible to keep this kind of thing completely secret. What makes the opponent even more uncomfortable is occasionally sending in to disrupt the opponent's tactical arrangements. After all, this is the real Pokémon world, and the others are not Eminem. Most trainers not only have attribute tendencies when training skills, but even if a Pokémon can theoretically learn a certain skill, it is still very troublesome to learn non-attribute skills, so the attack surface is usually not it will be comprehensive. Once it is reduced to preventing the ninja from the shell, then even if Eminem is not a ninja from the shell, he is equivalent to playing a role off the court. Therefore, Eminem needs a duel to prove that his escape ninja can play. But at the same time his strength is very low. Moreover, it is necessary to be able to hide the fact that Eminem will be in a daze when using the shelling ninja, so that when the real rookie game comes, the threat of a shelling ninja that makes rapid progress will be even greater. In other words, a semi-public duel that is not very intense is needed. In this regard, the current gym challenge is quite appropriate. But Eminem took a moment to figure out the Pokémon he was about to fight. The evil ghost flies into the rock fire. Since it is a super gym, there is basically no need to consider that it is not a non-super skill that can be learned independently as you grow up. In theory, you can learn a lot, but there are only 4 skill slots, and in this real world, skills can't be learned by tapping the skill machine. In this way, the main threats to the escape ninja are the owl and the killin. Theoretically, Gem Starfish can also naturally acquire rock type power gem as it grows, but it is unlikely to bring it. However, Kikilin can naturally learn Crush, which is a evil type skill. Considering that there are many ghost type Pokémon around Ali's Kikilin who lives in Super Town, there is a chance that he will be very proficient in this trick. Bite to pieces. Indeed, in some of Ali's battle records, Kikilin also used Bite. Although Kikilin has higher special attack, but physical attack is not low either, just like Bulbasaur and Nidoking. In this real world, if physical attack and special attack are similar, they are usually trained in double sword. There are very few people who are as specialized as Eminem. It can basically be judged that Kikilin will bring Bite. As for the owl, needless to say, it is a flying type Pokémon, so it is almost impossible not to have a flying type attack skill. Among the 6 Pokémon commonly used by Ollie, 2 are a threat to the shell ninja. When the battle comes, it will be 4 out of 6. Eminem thinks that ninja and shell can be arranged, but there is no need to start in the blink of an eye. Eminem's gym challenge in Super Town has begun. Although it was venue number 1, it was nowhere near as big as the Manjin Gym. There were probably only a few hundred people, so it was quite full. The auditorium is very simple, not a stadium kind, but a relatively decent venue, surrounded by steel frame steps. After all, there is not that much traffic in Super Town, so the auditorium does not need to be too luxurious. What is important is that the barrier function of the venue is intact. Eminem thought about it for a long time last night and wrote several pages of tactical diary. This is the biggest difference between a battle trainer and a field fighting trainer before fighting. The latter has to think about what means he has, while the former mainly wants to think about what means the other party has, even when you don't know who your opponent is. The latter has to consider comprehensively, and with fewer weaknesses from training Pokémon to selecting its own Linoop. The former requires more consideration, and the Pokémon you train can in a certain situation make the most of it. This is particularly obvious given the limited number of skills what to do if you are targeted on the battlefield. On the one hand, it is necessary to have Pokémon as a ballast stone. On the other hand, if someone will successfully target it, then it means that you are not calculating, and you deserve to lose point. Although Eminem does not reject wild battles, his idea is more of fighting against trainers. He accepts no Pokémon as invincible, and has never set no weaknesses as a training goal. As for being targeted in a wild fight, then we have to target the small flash and old cards. Gym. Challenge is about to begin. Gym. Side. Ollie. Challenge. Eminem. Following the referee's announcement, Eminem and his opponent came to the center of the field to shake hands. Off the field, Chais curiously asked ZioAI, "What Pokémon are you planning to use in the battle?" "I don't know. I went to bed early," ZioAI said coldly. Eminem was also struggling for a long time last night and kept writing in her diary. Eminem looked at his opponent and felt that he should be about the same age as himself. Of course, in terms of appearance, standing next to Eminem, it will definitely be overshadowed. "I hope there will be a wonderful showdown," Ali said modestly and confidently. "I'm looking forward to it too," Eminem said, fiddling with his bangs towards the audience. Immediately there were some voices off the court saying "so handsome" and "come on Eminem," especially among members of the opposite sex. Obviously Eminem's charm will not be blocked by the barriers outside the venue. It even gave popularity pressure to Ali who played at home. Ali suddenly no longer wanted to be modest as much as before. Soon both sides stood in their respective positions. 4 versus 4. Standard doubles rules. Please send out your starting Pokémon at the same time. The referee also announced at this time point, because it is a small place, the referee is not from the East George family. Go. Jing Jing. Kiki. I saw what ad you released, and it turned out to be Pokémon Deer and Killenki, two Pokémon with similar body shapes, both of which were four-legged on the ground. As for why the sly-antlered deer is called Jing Jing, probably because the form before evolution was a terrifying deer. On the other hand, Eminem was not shouting so energetically, but after the Pokémon came out, he started shouting on his own. Class gone. With the wind, two slightly different figures appeared on the Eminem field. On one side is a huge and oppressive Bangalus, and on the other side is a shuttlecock Cotton that is somewhat small and nimble in comparison. As soon as Leoban appeared on the stage, rock energy gathered around him, and even sand-like rock energy crystals condensed in the air. Although there is no wind, these sand-like rock crystals are howling like a sandstorm because of their violent energy. Fortunately, there were barrier facilities around, and barrier type Pokémon standing guard, so it didn't spread beyond the site. ABO was also affected, and its trajectory in the air became even more chaotic. Eminem waited for a moment, and saw that the sly-antlered deer on the other side did not activate, intimidate, and felt more stable. Chapter 824. An excellent trainer. Eminem has the Bankalus Mega Stone. It was given to him by Aunt Tomoko after the Dark Star Pearl incident. But Eminem didn't bring it to Leoban this time. After all, Leoban's level is originally higher than the opponent's Pokémon, an 8-star gym trainer. Pokémon are generally only level 50, maybe less, while Leoban is already level 66, and has less training. RPO also has level 57. In terms of combat power, it is a crushing game. Even Leoban's most proficient skills were not brought with him at this time. Only Rock Crash, Crush, Defend, and Dragon Dance. It seems that they are all powerful skills of Bangalus for ordinary Bangalus. It is true that Rock Crash and Crush should be the most commonly used attack methods, and there is usually a candidate for Earthquake, That is not of this type point, but for Leoben, there is only one most proficient skill, that is, Rock Blockade, although the attack power is worse than Rock Crash, and it is not large scale. But, this move is on the verge of awakening. After all, Eminem has been training since he obtained the Book of Sealing, incomplete version. As long as it is awakened, this is not Rock Blockade, but, for Elephant Seal, the attached effect is no longer a reduction in skill readiness speed, but a skill that seals the opponent for a period of time, of course. Before the official awakening, it is indeed no better than Rock Crash. It can only be said to be more skilled point, except for Leoben. Zyology and Little Bad Bear have basically given up on practicing the Book of Sealings, especially Little Bad Bear. It is impossible to expect this lazy guy, 8-gate Dungier. I saw that the Shuttlecock Mine on the field was just playing the starting point, while the Banjulus alone was suppressing the opponent's Kikilin and Sly Antler Deer in the fight. Ordinarily, the strength and race value of Kikilin is 90, and Strange Antler Deer is 105. Which are not low, but in front of the old class of 134, especially the old class with the gap in levels, they are still stretched. It's just that the Pokémon on all fours, although it is not that flexible in terms of steering, has better stability during the competition. This is why it was not knocked over by Leoben in the competition other than skills, especially Kikilin, although he is still a little behind in strength. In battles other than skills, body size also plays a big role. Kikilin is more than 3 meters tall, although it is slender and weighs less than 2 meters. Leoben is tall and sturdy, but he also weighs more than 160 kilograms, which is 70% of Leoben's weight. At this time, Kikilin swung his slender neck and slapped Leoben, but Leoben turned around and slapped him. Although it tilted its head to the side, it was only tilted to the side. After shaking its head, it immediately recovered and could use its height advantage to harass RPO floating in the air, but at this time, the battle reached the first critical point. At this time, APO, who was the fastest in preparing skills in the audience, had swollen cotton balls all over her body, symbolizing that her skills were ready. Eminem also immediately shouted loudly, "APO, use hypnosis powder on the one with the long neck." Tomoyo was puzzled for a while in the audience. What's wrong? Sakura wondered. Why are you shouting? Tomoyo didn't understand. Supposedly, all of Eminem's grass type Pokémon are experts in hypnosis powder. Not only can they scatter them quickly and accurately, but they also don't need to be commanded at all. Eminem doesn't speak, so he defaults to hypnosis powder to go first. This way we don't give the other party a chance to prepare. After all, hypnosis powder is not so easy to hit. If you know it in advance, it will be easier to avoid. ZioAI curled her lips and said, "That's because, ZioAI felt a little tired and didn't explain point at this moment. RPO sprinkled the hypnosis powder quickly and accurately, and even the hypnosis powder was very condensed. Under the sandstorm, not only Kikilin in the field could not open his eyes, but also outside the field. Ali couldn't see clearly either, but immediately shouted, "Kiki, get out of the way." However, he still didn't escape. Kikilin is more than 3 meters high, and it is too close to RPO floating in the air, and this hypnotic powder, so concentrated, so fast. Next moment, just hearing a slight explosion, Kikilin was thrown backwards. This time, even his steps faltered, and he seemed to be hurt even more than when he was slapped by his boss Ollie. Audience. Referee. What's going on? Hypnosis powder is still aggressive. Could it be the awakening hypnotic powder? Can this level 50 shuttlecock also have awakening skills? And it's too weird to awaken the attack power of hypnosis powder. No. Look at the referee. I saw the referee writing down on the record board, flower, pink, group. Yes, even though he is not from the East George family, the referees are still very professional. He saw that Eminem's shuttlecock cotton was not hypnotic powder at all, but an insect type, pollen ball. In the face of doubts, Eminem just raised his bangs, a posture of "I'm so handsome. I should be forgiven for anything I do." Who says trainers can only call out the correct name? Can't I just call pollen balls hypnotic powder? Both of them are also powdery, but the pollen balls are more concentrated, but the difference is a little more obvious at ordinary times, but it is too difficult to distinguish during a sandstorm. It's so abominable, despicable. Foreigner, but he's really handsome. That's right. If you can understand my shuttlecock man, you must have put in the hard work behind the scenes. Do you know how hard Eminem works behind the scenes? Sister, wake up. Lee's face turned black at this time. Although Kiki was not hypnotized, he suffered a heavy blow. After all, the superpower system was restrained by the insect system. For Eminem, it's not just the attack that works. Naturally, part of the reason for shouting is because the two attack methods are different. If it disrupts the opponent's judgment, it will make the opponent avoid in the wrong way. However, if the target is killing, it has another purpose. Amu wants to judge whether this killing has the trait of herbivore. If it has the herbivorous trait, not only will it not be affected by grass-based skills, but it will also be able to absorb the grass-based energy from the opponent's attacks, stimulating one's own strength for a period of time. Although the herbivore trait is very rare among killing, it still has to be guarded against. However, now, when Eminem saw the other party immediately evade anxiously when he called out hypnosis powder, it can be seen that he is definitely not herbivore. An excellent trainer can achieve multiple things with one stone. Chapter 825 True and False. Under the illumination of wisdom, after Eminem achieved multiple things with one stone, Leoban's skills were ready. Although Leoban did not have speed as his strength, but in terms of speed racial value, it is the same as sly-horned deer and strange antlered deer. Killing is almost the same, and the level is a bit higher. At this time, Leoban suddenly waved his arm, and suddenly in the sandstorm, the power of the rock system was condensed, forming clusters of falling rocks, and smashed towards the snow-horned deer and killing ordinarily. The evil types, Crush, can cause greater damage to two super-type opponents, but Leoban still chose Rock. Collapse. Firstly, Crush requires getting close, and the timing is more difficult to grasp. Secondly, for Leoban who is proficient in Rock Blockade, Rock Crash is more convenient, and can attack two opponents at the same time. Calculator lost just when the first wave of falling rocks hit. Ali shouted, Jingjing, use barrier attack. I saw the deer with strange horns lowering its head and raising its horns. Suddenly, the power of the super energy system spread out a barrier around the area between the two horns, and then withstood the barrier. The deer with strange horns jumped up and collided with RPO. Point barrier attack is a unique skill of fright antlered deer and fright antlered deer. After using it, it will also have a barrier effect, making itself more resistant to physical attacks. The frightening antlered deer must be able to use barrier attack proficiently. To be precise, only the frightening antlered deer who is proficient in barrier attack can evolve into a frightening antlered deer at this time. Its target is the shuttlecock cotton in the low sky. It can only be shuttlecock cotton. After all, Bangerus belongs to the evil system, and the power of the superpower system is difficult to take effect on it. If it attacks Leoban, only the brute force in it can come in handy. And Eminem suspects that this sly antlered deer is probably good at speed, so the speed at which his skills are ready is about the same as Leoban's, or even, maybe a little earlier, but he just keeps waiting. If it were in the game, then barrier attack would naturally only increase one's own defense by a certain amount. But in this real world, with the time effect of barrier formation, this is equivalent to giving a weakened version of defense. I saw that the sly antlered deer was running at this time, deliberately hitting the falling rocks caused by the rock slide, which was equivalent to eating most of the damage caused by the rock slide while launching the attack. And even he also protected his teammate Key Killing Point RPO throughout cotton fibers from his body at this time, trying to block the sight of the sly antlered deer. What kind of skill is it to use cotton on his body to block the opponent's sight? This is the same as using ordinary pollen to make someone sneeze. It's not a skill point. It's a pity that these cotton wools also slipped away on the barrier. BO. RPO let out a cry of pain and was hit by the jumping sly-antlered deer point, but finally it was still stable, still floating without falling, because snowy horned deer is more aggressive and shuttlecock cotton is less durable. Even if this barrier attack is not restrained, it will cause the same damage to RPO as it did to Kikillin just now. The damage done is about the same point at the same time. Eminem noticed that the Kikillin on the opposite side was also pestering Leoben and looking at RPO, so he reminded RPO, protect yourself. After hearing this, RPO immediately floated further away, just throwing cotton balls from a distance to harass. The premise of being able to do this is that Leoben is not afraid of 1 against 2 in a fight other than skills. Killin's eyes flashed on its tail armor at this time, and it was obvious that its skills were ready, but there was no suitable opportunity to attack RPO. Point the so-called tail armor does not mean that its characteristic is tail armor. Eminem doesn't know whether its characteristic is tail armor or rumination, but it refers to the neck and head of the Killin. All the one-layer tails turn into coats. Originally in the Killin key stage, it had a tail that looked like the head of a small creature. After evolution, its tail would swing forward and wrap its neck and head, making it seem like it was wearing it's like a hoodie, and there's a pair of lines on the hat that look like eyes. This gives Kikillin a special characteristic, tail armor, which makes it immune to some unexpected skills. It didn't take long for PO to have his skills ready, compared to the other 3 Pokémon whose speed values were in the 60s. PO, who had a speed value of 110 and specialized in speed, was just too fast. APO, use hypnosis powder. Eminem commanded again. I saw RPO shaking out a ball of powder at Kikillin again, still looking like a ball, very condensed. When Ali saw that he was going to repeat his old tricks, he couldn't help but feel annoyed. Do you think I will be fooled a second time? Taking advantage of RPO's opportunity to approach and pause for a moment in order to attack, Ali commanded, Kiki, use double beam. The eyes on the tail carapace of Kikillin flashed with strange light at this moment, and then facing the pollen ball, 2 laser beams were shot directly from the eyes of the tail carapace. Generally speaking, dust skills suffer greatly in wave confrontation. The skills of both sides collided, but Ali imagined something different. I saw that the double beam directly passed through the pollen ball and continued to shoot towards RPO, and the pollen ball dispersed directly under the impact, as if it had no power at all. Even with dust type skills, it is too easy to scatter already, just like not an attack skill. What? This? Ali's pupils shrank, and he immediately realized that something was wrong. The next moment, I saw scattered pollen, scattered directly on Kikillin, gone with the wind. RPO was hit by the double beam. Even if he blocked it with the cotton on his body, he still cried out in pain. He didn't even use the angry fan. He kept getting beaten. However, the situation of Kikillin was worse. Although he did not suffer any damage, he fell asleep. That's right. This time it's really hypnosis powder. RPO, who was very skilled in hypnosis powder, rolled up the hypnosis powder and barely imitated the appearance of pollen ball. Generally speaking, you won't admit your mistakes, but now not only is it in the sandstorm, but there is also the previous preparation, which causes Quercus to be treated completely as a pollen ball. Oops. Ali stamped her foot anxiously. At the same time, facing the only awake strange antlered deer on the opponent's field, RPO directly went up to face him, and Leoben was 2 against 1. As for the sleeping Killin, of course, there was no need to worry about it for the time being. At this time, RPO, even if she was injured, still insisted on rushing forward to block the sight of the deer with strange horns and interfere with its activities. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.